Welcome back to the Multiverse here on Digital Charcuterie. I think we're in the Multiverse. I don't think it's possible to not be in the Multiverse, especially now.
One of the verses of the multi verses, right? Yeah.
We're in some kind of verse anyway.
Mm.
And I'm back here again with the MEEPLE monkey. Hello, sir. How are you?
G'day, folks. Yeah, good. Thanks. Yeah. I was just saying, actually, I was a little under the weather earlier this week, but I'm back ready. Back in action now. So yeah, feeling a lot better. It was
Awesome.
a big week at school. We had excursions and all sorts of things, so I was a bit under the weather by the end of it, but all good now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we had a big week as well. It was because I teach acting, and it was we had a show week this week. So we have like a day of dress rehearsal and then a day of the actual show. And we got another one coming up in June on my birthday, in fact. So it's like we're putting all the pieces together to send everybody off. So it's that time of year for teachers.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's let's get into the hard end. We've got reports and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, got to knuckle down.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And now we had X-Men 97 to kind of guide us through the last few months.
Yes.
And we spent a lot of, I would imagine, I don't want to speak for you, but we spent a lot of time this past couple of months looking forward to the summer, because the summer meant Marvel United Multiverse.
Yes, that's right.
And now we're not so sure.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, lots of emotions. It might have contributed to my feeling unwell the last couple of days. Yeah. Yeah, not the although it was funny actually. I had that recent update that came through. I had a real sort of roller coaster ride with it, because I mean I saw the headline, and it had all the things that was going to show off, and I was like, oh yeah, sweet, we'll have pictures of all these new expansions and things that we haven't seen yet, sort of thing. Many of which I'm like, oh, that's right, we've got this, and also like some of them I thought they'd already showed that, but okay, maybe not yet, and all that sort of thing. But yeah, it was really exciting sort of heading. I was like, yes, this is going to be great. And then I opened up the timeline, and at first I was like, oh, sweet, look at that. It's got, Australia, this date. I was like, yeah. And then I read closely. I was like, wait, no, that's the playmat. So I was really excited, because the playmat dates I thought were the real dates. I was like, oh, that's really good. And I don't know about you. Did you order the playmat?
I didn't order the playmat.
I didn't either, because I've already got a playmat, and this new one, I can see I guess the appeal of it, if you want. The only thing, okay, so it's a smaller. Okay, so the idea is it's smaller. It's a nice color. Purple is cool.
It is,
but it's like a smaller space. Takes up less room on the table, sort of thing. But the cards. It takes up a smaller space because the card spaces are left off it. So you basically put the cards on the outside of it, rather than on it. And I'm like, well, the cards are still in that space, so they're still like the game still takes up the same amount of space. So I don't really see it as saving that much space. But I guess it's, if you're someone who doesn't like using the circular storyline, if you want the mat to keep everything else on there, and then you do your storyline somewhere else, I guess that saves some space. But yeah, for me it didn't really make much sense. But yeah, so all these updates about the story playmats and things, I'm just like, okay, yep, next. Next. But yeah, then the full pledges. It's just NA. And the worst thing for me, this is just me personally, as the the guy who gets excited, because it was like Marvel United was one of the only things that would ship to Australia first, right, in the Kickstarter universe.
Right.
And there's information for West Coast US, but there's no information for. So I'm like, does this mean that Australia's not getting the stuff first? Like because it's NA sort of thing. So I thought I was going to get, get the scoop on the unboxings and stuff, but maybe not. Maybe it's going to hit the West Coast of US first. So Yeah, so it was like double whammy for me. I was like, oh no. And then I've been sick ever since. So yeah.
It's
But
all the shipping company's fault.
yeah, but either way, well, yeah, it's looking like it's yeah, pushed back a little bit more. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to be patient. It's the good thing about CMON is they tend to deliver. Even if it's a little bit. Oh, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. All right. Yeah.
I was about to. I wasn't sure if folks could still hear me, so I was like, "Am I just gonna have to like do some sort of like a one-man show when no one can hear me?" So
Just a little jig until
yeah,
everything comes back.
well, but there was no image either, so I was just like, "Oh, what story can I tell now?" Yeah, that's gonna keep people entertained. Anyway, yeah, well, hopefully, well, that's it. There's something going on with the multiverse because that was a glitch
Right?
in it.
Everything's
Doctor
all getting
Strange is
tangled up.
that Doctor
Yeah.
Strange is causing problems.
That update that we got it really was baffling because it was underplayed for the first paragraph where they're just like, hey, unfortunately there was this issue with the shipping and they don't have enough room. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like it could slow
Yeah,
things down a bit. And then I see all those
yeah.
NAs and I'm like, that's more than a bit. Like
Yeah.
I hope because they send these updates on a bi-weekly basis.
Mm.
And I'm hoping that we won't have to wait another 2 weeks to get more info on that. That would at least be nice for peace of mind. Because I mean, it was probably foolish of me to do this because I've been told by people that with Kickstarters you just have to sit back and forget about it. But I've
Mm.
been counting down the days. I've been just like, come on, when is July getting here?
Yeah.
So now with everything looking like it's not quite going to have any kind of guaranteed date for the near future,
Mm.
it really does. It really does kind of put a damper on the summer just a little bit.
Oh, well, I guess we just gotta. Well, never know. We might get some good news, and they're able to sort of like speed things up in a different way or something, and then they might get back on track. Well, I guess we'll just have to. I guess the good thing about the NA was that it wasn't a definite date that's like 2 years out. It's like,
Yeah,
the NA could change into something good. Yeah, we'll just have to see how we go. But yeah. I think I think for a lot of people, it's actually they were like, "Phew," because they got more time to paint their their season 2 stuff, right?
yeah. The painters are happy. The
Yeah,
painters are definitely happy. And I mean, I
yeah,
guess I was spoiled with. I was spoiled by season 2 by the X-Men
yeah,
stuff because I don't
mm,
get a lot of Kickstarter things.
yeah,
So that was one of the few I ever did, and then it came within a year.
yeah.
And I guess you get way more Kickstarters than me. That's not normal, is it?
No, not really. Although, like, Simon seemed to have like with the ones that I've backed, which is to be honest, not many, um, of the Simon ones. They tend to be pretty good. So I sort of just thought, oh well, this it's still it's going to be on time again, sort of thing. And yeah, so it just hasn't worked out that way. But yeah, it's just Kickstarter for you or crowdfunding, I guess. It's not just limited to Kickstarter, but yeah, well, but there's so much like going through this list because I think today we're also going to be talking about some of the things we're excited. Although now we're going to be even more excited, I guess. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we need to stretch our lists out or something so we can keep going. But um, there's a lot of stuff coming that we can be really excited for, and I guess that's why we're so sort of antsy for it. We're just really looking forward to it. So yeah. But the X-Men 97 has been really nice to sort of keep us tided over for a little while. But
Yes.
I must admit, I'm feeling a bit sad because there were so many good shows I was watching, like Shogun and X-Men 97. There was something else. There was like a third. Oh, I think it's just One Piece. I've been watching a lot of the One Piece, and Yeah, now it's like, oh, there's not really anything on at the moment that I'm looking forward to. I'm like, oh, all right, guess I'll do some painting or something. So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
97 has been good. Yeah,
it has. Yeah, you're right. Everything kind of ended at once, too. Even
yeah.
I was watching The Bad Batch, the Star Wars show that was
Oh
coming
yeah,
out around the same time, and that
yeah.
ended, I think, the week before X-Men did. So
Mm.
it just kind of they all kind of fell like dominoes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a finale party over here. We got to see it all in a group, and everybody was yelling and then reacting and
Yeah.
oh. So we had fun with it.
Yeah.
I think that the last time I had a finale party for a show was probably
Can I
14
guess?
years ago when oh yeah, yeah.
Melrose Place.
Ooh, you know, don't hate me, but I've never seen an episode.
No, that's good. I just remember back in the day, like people used to talk about like watch parties with that show. That's the only show I can remember that had like watch parties. So I'm like, Melrose
I missed out on those.
Place.
No, the last one that I would have had would have been 14 years ago for when Lost ended.
Oh, okay. Yep, that makes sense. That's good show for a finale party. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, no. So it was cool having everybody jumping in the same room, watching the same show, and then to top it all up, it was just a great finale
Mm.
to this season of X-Men '97. So, what were your thoughts on it? Did it turn out the way you wanted it to turn out?
Yeah, yeah, like largely yes. Like it sort of it played out how I wanted it to play out. It sort of I guess it exceeded expectations as well. It was like it just and it just kept getting better and better. Like yeah, really really good. You know, the whole last end of the um I think what we talked about I think episode 6 I think up until that point.
I
So
think so.
from that
Yeah.
point and I mean I loved all the way up to episode 6 as well, but
Mhm.
it just really yeah it was good I really excited for the what's to come as well. I like how they sort of like set things up there, and yeah, just really I think what also helped was I was familiar enough with some of the ideas of some of the storylines that they touched on in this season but wasn't really familiar with them. So they're all I was able to sort of enjoy them all without having to do too much comparison as well. But lots of yeah, just lots of really big standout moments. I feel like most of the characters got really a really good chance to shine in their own sort of bits and pieces, in different episodes as well. So yeah, just uh, I can't. I don't really have any complaints. It was all good. I've got notes and stuff for each episode, but as an overall thing, just yeah, it just hit that. I tell you what as an overall thing for it was it really. I was thinking about it because I was watching it again to try and remind myself, what happened in particular episodes as well, because it was all
Mhm.
kind of like one big blur. But it sort of it made me think about we often complain about how and I know we're really nostalgic and one of the things we love about this show is it's based on that the 90s show that we all loved and going back and watching that it was still a lot of fun watching and everything but we have this idea that they can't create anything good anymore they've run out of stories or just things aren't as good as they were as the original stuff but like this storytelling and just the way they put this together and how I guess it's for an adult audience sort of thing, I guess. Like it's just the stories were so much more mature and just well told. And as much as I love the old stuff, watching back, part of the fun of watching it was oh, that's kind of clunky, but oh, this clunky sort of show. But um, this just was it didn't really feel clunky. It just felt like good television, It still felt like a cartoon, but it felt like a really well told cartoon that anyone could watch sort of thing. I really enjoyed it. So it sort of is keeping that renewed faith in that we can still get good television, good stories, in this day and age sort of thing. So it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. How you go in there and you're expecting the nostalgia and you're expecting
Mm.
the just the sort of cartoonness of it all, and you get that, but they never sacrificed the fact that they wanted to be a good show for any of
Yeah.
that. They never sacrificed any of that quality. There
Mm,
was a lot of thought put into the craftsmanship of every episode and what all the characters went through.
mm.
And my friends laugh at me when I say this, but I'm gonna put X-Men '97 up on a pedestal next to something else, and it's my favorite legacy sequel of all time. Like they've brought back so much, like you're saying, from the '80s and whatever. They brought back Star Wars again. They've brought back like everything, anything you can think
Yeah.
of. Picard, everything is coming back. But to me, and I get laughed at when I say this, but I don't care. The best legacy sequel that we have gotten in recent years is Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid
Oh,
TV show, because
yeah, yeah.
they do the same thing. They have fun with all the, hey, remember this character? Hey, look at this nostalgia.
Mm,
But man, is that show ever entertaining? And they just
yeah.
every episode they just keep knocking it out of the park and raising the stakes. And X-Men '97, I think, lives. They play in the same circles.
Mm,
They're having fun with all the remember, but they're not letting that be the only leg they have to stand on. They're
yeah,
giving
yeah.
themselves the opportunity to tell a good story and care about the stories that came before. And most importantly, I think, understand that everybody who was a fan, the old stuff should grow up with them and not
Yeah.
stay too stagnant.
Yes. Yeah.
New
Yeah.
fans will come on board and new fans will dig into it and they'll like it and they won't come with baggage. They'll just be like, hey, this is fun. Old
Yeah.
fans, though, it grows with them and they can feel that and they can appreciate that more.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So good. So yeah, I'm really, really impressed and really thankful that that's the team that were creating it, were a team that could achieve that. So yeah, very good. Because it would have just been super easy just to go in and just completely rely on the nostalgia and just kind of just churn it out and
Yeah.
little gags and stuff. But yeah, this was good.
Yeah, there are
Yeah, yeah.
plenty of multiverses where I'm sure that happened, and thankfully we didn't end up in one of them.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe that's what that. Maybe the previous two of us who were just talking. Maybe we're from that.
Yeah, those guys, they didn't enjoy the show at all.
No, it was garbage. It went off a cliff after what was it, episode 6? So yeah, yeah. Did you want to sort of like go through episode by episode, or like just if you got notes for each one,
Yeah,
or
sure.
yeah,
So we last left off with 6, right? When
yeah,
that was the last time we talked. When we see
hmm,
Xavier again, and
yep,
yeah, he's with the Shi'ar and all that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So episode 7, Bright Eyes. That's Gambit's funeral,
mm,
and we get a sense of picking up where episode 5 left off because we did take that big break
yeah,
to spend some time with Professor X. Um, this funeral, getting to finally see the X-Men all around reacting to the death and how Rogue reacts to it in her own different way. I think personally it was worth waiting the extra week because it was exactly how I wanted. It was
yeah.
powerful in all the right ways.
Mm-hmm. I wrote down, and I think I can't remember. Like I've written this down, but I don't know if it was something I thought, or maybe you or someone wrote in a comment to me after this after this episode. But it's like this is the episode I was looking for, sort of thing.
Yeah.
We were there, like getting to see, um, see the fallout of it all and that sort of thing. Because we had to watch this in. Like I had to wait a week in between each episode. I feel like the week's wait was long enough. That was the downtime for me. I didn't need an episode of downtime.
Yeah.
But what's interesting actually with this, like I felt like this one gave me, like it started with the funeral, so it was like an immediate sort of like, what the fallout of, like, okay, so his death and the what it meant to the folks around him and that sort of thing, and then there was enough of a sort of a build up within that episode, like before it really got into like the stuff at the end, that I sort of felt like, I would have liked this to be like the downtime bit, but I will defer to your more knowledgeable sort of take on how television series, ebb and flow and that sort of thing as well. So and I think in the long run, I agree with you. That I think that other episode, I don't know. I think maybe that other episode, just because there were certain like the Shi'ar stuff. I don't know. It just kind of didn't. I didn't really even. It just felt so out of touch with the whole thing that I just
Mhm.
didn't. Yeah, I don't know, but regardless, we got to this point, and I was like, we're back on board. We're
Yeah.
going strong, sort of thing. So yeah, it was fantastic, and I was super happy when there were those little cameos and things as well. I was like, oh, Andrew's gonna love that. He's gonna love this, and we kept getting more of them, didn't we? So that was good too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it was the perfect moment to put the big cameo, the Captain America cameo, in this particular spot. This is the perfect place for it
yeah,
to have it come at this time where the because we all know we're coming into it with the knowledge of like this was a connected cartoon universe back in the day, so we're all kind of expecting it, and we know it's only a matter of time till it starts seeping its way into the plot. But I think that it was the perfect place to have this happen, where you have one of the X-Men, in this case Rogue, jump outside their circle of friends and go to
mm,
some other Marvel character and bring them into the fold. It reminded me of in Spider-Man No Way Home,
mm.
the way that they handled the other two Peter Parkers, because we all kind of, I mean, it was the worst kept secret in Hollywood, really, at that time.
yeah,
We all kind of walked into that theater saying, "Gee, I hope the other Peters show up." Wait, wait, like we knew it was just a matter of when, not if. And the movie really smartly waited until Peter Parker was in his lowest point and the story was the saddest it could ever get, and Aunt May died and everything was awful, and we were just, it was the dust settling after the big storm,
Mm,
and then here comes Andrew Garfield and here comes Tobey Maguire to pick everything up.
yeah,
It was the perfect moment in that movie for it, and this felt like that, right? This
yeah,
felt like, the Genosha's gone, everything is, the dust is settling. We know Xavier's coming back. We see the funeral, and we're exhaling after all that, and we're like, okay, where's Rogue? Oh, there she is, and she's with Captain America of all people, and she's kicking his butt, and she's kicking General Ross's butt, and it's just
yeah,
like,
yeah. That
yeah,
was cool as well. I forgot about. Actually, looking back, I forgot that Ross was in it as well. I was like, oh, that's right. Yeah, they had
uh-huh.
as his little cameo and stuff. And although Captain America didn't do much picking up the pieces, did he? Like, like the two other pieces, he's just like, oh, sorry, I can't really help out. But
Yeah,
but it was that. But even that was good, and he was a sort of like a perfect character to show that whole sense of like how isolated the X-Men and the mutants are, and how they're viewed by others, and even the idea of this epitome of like, the hero for justice and all that sort of stuff is kind of like, oh well, sorry, I just can't really help you out, sort of thing. And it's like that was like, oh man, like boy, these mutants, like they just get a raw deal, sort of thing. So
yeah,
um, so that was, yeah, that was an interesting, but also but it was told in a sort of a way that made sense because, she was sort of advocating, going, all out and revenge and all this sort of stuff, and so he wasn't totally out of line, I guess, sort of saying, hey, look, we've got to do this by the books, and we, just in the face of like what a horrible, you know, um, like it like genocide it was, sort of thing, like he was sort of advocating, oh no, well we can't meet genocide with the same sort of tactics and that sort of stuff. But it was just an interesting sort of point, and just show how sort of alone and added to her sort of feeling of just like that no one was there to support her and no one was there to support the mutants and stuff. But yeah, just, and again, like just these big, like what a big theme and what a nuanced sort of take for a cartoon show, like these are some
right.
big issues they're tackling, sort of thing. Yeah. And yeah, it would have been real easy just to go straight into like, okay, now we're all going to beat up the bad guys straight from there. But it showed, no, the reality is like in in reaction to that sort of a situation, um, you're not necessarily going to get what you might expect the reaction to be, sort of thing. So
That's
yeah,
right. And we needed to to spend that time with Rogue. This was really her episode. We needed that. And then to top it all off, they did that great thing with her where they took her to a darker place, which is it's extra sad because she's usually in the group. She's kind of like the most fun, at least one of the most fun, where all this dark stuff could be going on. You know, oh no, Sabretooth is burning the orphanage, whatever. And she'd be like, oh shucks, well ain't that a crying shame? You know, she would bring some levity to almost everything. So to see her get to the place where she's full on like Peter Parker in the black suit, like I'm about to kill somebody. Except she goes the extra mile and she drops Trask off a building.
Yeah. And you know, what was interesting about that too is that, like, I think another really great thing I loved about this this episode is it because this was kind of like bringing, because they'd started putting Nightcrawler into Gambit's spot in the credits, or you know, the opening titles and that sort of thing as well. This episode in particular was starting from that opening, like the funeral, where he was kind of like leading the procession sort of thing, or you know, leading the the eulogy or the whatever it was. Like it really brought, you know, they gave him a lot of time to shine in this episode, but they also sort of like put him in place. It's like, okay, this is going to be his spot in the team, because he's not going to be the Gambit in the team. Like that's not who he is. He's got to, he has to fit in with his own thing. So he's sort of almost like this, like spiritual, like counselor for them, you know, like, so, and especially in a moment where everyone's so low, it makes sense for him to be able to step in and sort of like, through his little conversations with everyone throughout the episode, he's like, you know, he's there consoling them, he's there listening, he's there sort of giving them advice and sort of giving them hope and that sort of thing. And so I thought that was really good, and it showed, like, you know, how like low she'd got, because he was even able to, you know, speak to her and have some conversation with her, and it still, you know, it wasn't enough by the end of it. That thing with what's his name, Trask, like just pushed her to the edge sort of thing. And yeah, so that was good too. So I like that. You know, they were able to bring him in and sort of show that off, but also show how you know, how far that she'd been sort of, or that she'd fallen sort of thing. So that was pretty good. Yeah.
He did really step up into a big role. You're right.
Yeah. And another little minor thing about that, I wrote a little note about, I like Wolverine's little line or whatever at the beginning when they're at the funeral, and he's sort of like, oh, she's got to deal with it or whatever. And as much as like Wolverine kind of gets sidelined a bit in this season, I do like how they used him, and I do like, you know, it was always him in the right character and that sort of stuff. But little moments like that were like, yeah, that's totally like what Wolverine would have said there, and this and that, you know. And I think when later on when she drops him off the off the building, I think he says like, yeah, that's what she should have done. It's like, yep, that's what Wolverine would say. Everyone else is like, oh my God, what'd you do? And he's like, yep, it dropped him off the building.
They used him cool. So right in this show. It was just, again, so easy. There's another multiverse out there where they just went overboard and made him the main character, like they always tend to do, and that's not the right way to tell this story.
Yeah. And you know, I'm a massive Wolverine fan. He's probably, I go back and forth, but he's probably my favorite character. But I appreciated, for the benefit of this season story and everything, how they sort of used him sort of more in the background and that sort of thing. I think that was good. Yeah.
He lives comfortably in the periphery, and it makes his stuff a lot more impactful. And then it ended with the reveal of Bastion, who I had to look up because they don't say his name, and I'm like, who's this dude with the pink skin? I don't remember him. So I had to do some research, but they pull this reveal, and they also reveal that he's got Magneto, and Magneto's safe. And I withheld judgment. Normally, I don't like when death gets undone. I'm a huge anti that. I'm just like, if you're gonna kill a character, go all in and live with the consequences. But I like to withhold judgment until I see the full picture. And now that I've seen the full season, I think it was an okay fake out. It was all right.
Yeah, and I think with like because with him, I was always a bit like, it seemed like, especially with the Sentinel going mutant terminated or whatever he said, the Sentinel seemed to think he'd got the job done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or he'd got the job done. But like with Remy, we kind of saw that he died because, you see the body, Rogue's with him at the end of that episode. Okay, so it's like, okay, so he's died. Whereas Magneto, I was like, did he die? Like they kind of just, there was a big explosion and we didn't really see what happened there. I guess you assume that he's been blown up by that, but like we didn't see it. So I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know that. The only thing was there were lots of these theories like, oh, Blink came in and teleported him away, or like Leech did this thing which turned off the power or whatever, or and like so the Sentinel was tricked because Leech turned off Magneto's power, so the Sentinel could no longer sense the magnetism, so therefore it thought it had got the job done, and all these like theories. But the only thing was, I guess the only thing for me is like, okay, how did he survive that? Like,
Yeah.
like we saw the big explosion, and like he even said like Leech's like eyes were vaporized in his skull or whatever, like in front of him. Like, so how did he like? I don't understand. So I'm okay with it, but I'm just like, how did he survive that? Like, he's just like all of a sudden he's in this shed with what's his name? But the other thing with that was I thought I don't like. Again, this is one of those things, all these things like, the slowdown of the show and this and that. These things I probably just don't, I'm not paying enough attention or whatever, but I don't get what was the point of Bastion keeping Magneto alive, shaving him, putting him in his undies and putting him on an X. Like, apart from like, obviously like, sadistic being, a jerk to him and that sort of stuff. Like, why did he like rescue him? Keep him separate. Like I thought, oh, for sure, like because he had the collar on him and he was shaving him, he's talking about how making him pliant and all this sort of stuff. I thought, oh, for sure, he's like going to be a sentinel. Like he's going to turn him into one of these sentinels.
Yeah.
And I was expecting it all the way up, and I kind of forgot about it because of all the action in the last episode. Later on, I'm like, oh wait, he never turned into a sentinel. I thought that was going to happen for sure. But yeah, so I don't really understand like what was the point of keeping him alive and all of that sort of stuff. I'm not sure. Like I don't even in the second watch, like watching back, I don't remember him ever really sort of explaining why he was keeping Magneto alive. But
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to watch again, and I haven't been able to watch it again. I assumed that it was the same as you're saying. I assumed he wanted to make him a Sentinel man.
Yeah.
But the lady whose name I forget kind of
Val
threw a
Cooper?
wrench in. Yeah, Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, she freed him and kind of put a wrench in that plan.
Yeah.
And Bastion just kind of had to say, "Oh, okay, well, I don't have Magneto anymore."
Yeah.
I think, at least just as far as I could tell, that seemed like what he was going for. Because yeah, otherwise, I guess
maybe
he's just being sadistic.
Yeah, so like maybe he was going to turn him into, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just felt a bit like like why is he here? Yeah. Anyway, but I'm sure there might be people watching that can that maybe no, or maybe it's something from the comics that's a bit more obvious if you'd read the comic, that storyline or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I'm sure there were a lot of like excited people. You were excited to see Bastion, right? Because you were familiar with him beforehand.
Well, no, not really. Like although I'd after the end of episode, I want to say maybe it was 5, the remember it or whatever the like the big episode in Genosha. At the end of that, there were lots of people in comments all over the place in different Facebook things and stuff saying, "Oh, it's Bastion. Oh no, it's who's the lady in Wolverine and Deadpool? Some lady."
Oh, Cassandra Nova.
Cassandra, yeah. So there were lots of people saying, "Oh, it's Cassandra Nova," and then there were lots of people saying, "No, it's Bastion." So I sort of assumed, okay, well, it's going to be one of these two, or if not both, or whatever. But I didn't really know what either one meant. I like you. I looked it up a little bit. I still didn't really know a lot about him, sort of thing. But yeah. So, but so yeah, I wasn't excited for him. But when he was revealed, or when the this episode sort of hit, and what happened with Trask was revealed, and he sort of was explaining more of his, because I think he starts explaining more of his endgame in the next episode, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that I was like, whoa, this is a really cool bad guy, because that was horrifying. That whole
Yeah.
anytime there's like a series where like halfway through the series it's like, oh, every single person around like the main character is like potentially like a sleeper agent or a spy or this or that. Um, horrifying, because it's like up is down, left is right. Like you like there's just no safety anywhere. Like when they do that sort of stuff, and it's just like, oh man. So yeah, that was a really cool. Like it really raised the stakes. Like I thought I was having fun. Like this is really cool. Like the first few episodes, I was really enjoying the series, but I didn't really see much of a direction of like where it was going. And even after that big explosive one, I still, because there was all these hints, like Sinister would be like, ha ha ha, I'm the main bad guy, and then you know the Bastion guy sort of showed up, ha ha ha, no, and I was like, oh, where's this going? But then when it was like, okay, no, this is what it's about, I was like, whoa, okay, that's terrifying. Yeah, it was a really cool, like, big bad to have as the plot, and I like how they stretched that out across like the three or four episodes at the end, sort of thing. It was really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really get that whole sleeper agent vibe, and they use it to its fullest extent in this
Mm,
big three-part finale. So you have Tolerance is Extinction parts
mm.
1, 2, and 3.
And three, yeah.
And again, I love that in itself. Just reminds me of the 90s, how those cartoons would always have like, oh, tune in tomorrow for part 2. Like they were not afraid to do that back then, to leave us
Mm,
hanging. And I was so taken in by this three-parter that my notes are pretty small.
mhm,
My
mhm.
biggest note for the first part is it's so nice after all these years from before where Cable just kind of popped in and out. And we all knew he was a Summers, but they never
Mm.
called attention to it. It's so nice now to see him go on this road trip with his parents on
Yeah,
this
yeah.
mission.
It was really cool. Like, yeah, and we got to spend some decent time with him. And because I remember back in when I was reading the comics, he was like leading X-Force and stuff. So he was kind of like around, like he wasn't just like popping in once or twice, sort of thing. At least in the little while that I was reading them, sort of thing. So he was around, sort of thing. So it was cool to have him like there and be a bit of a presence.
Mhm.
Sort of thing. So that was cool. And the road trip thing, and just the way they played with the parent child sort of thing, where he's this obviously older guy, but like he's getting bossed around by his mom, put your seatbelt on and all this sort of stuff, and he's like, geez, mom, don't don't push me around and stuff. Like that was really cool. Yeah, I liked that. I think I'd written down, like I liked, I don't know if this is this episode or the next one, but um I liked when he was putting on like the costume, the new, like they were all getting new costumes, and I think just I'm not sure, did Cyclops give him his costume? Like was that Cyclops's old costume? Because how Cyclops put on the old school one with the full head cover and stuff,
That's right.
and
Yeah,
then
I think it's if it's
or
not his
it's
old one, it looks a lot like his
It's
old
very
one.
similar, right? Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
kind of cool, like he have this, and they did that little joke referring to the movies where he's like, "What do you expect,
Yes.
Black Leather?" and all that sort of stuff. Like that was a fun little moment. So there were lots of like, for such a, because he's such a serious character too, like Cable. It was fun to see them play around with that. I like the whole like, you have a Porsche and all that.
Yeah.
That was cool. But yeah. Although with that Porsche, surely Jean could have held the Porsche up as well. Like, did she have to trash the Porsche? Like, Cyclops like hid that well if he was annoyed by that, because yeah, they didn't seem to weren't phased by that. But like,
He's probably got a garage full of
yeah,
Porsches.
yeah, yeah, because she threw that. I think it was in the episode, episode 8, where she like catches the building, Like, he's like, I'll take the debris and you catch the building, whatever. And she like
Mhm.
catches the building with her mind and like throws it into the harbor or whatever. I'm like, okay, she could catch a a Porsche. So that was good. Yeah.
She secretly always hated his Porsche. She wanted him to get a minivan, and this was her excuse. She's like, "Oh, okay. Oops."
Yeah. But yeah, that next that episode, that episode 8, I liked how even though it was like a big action-packed sort of sequence of thingies, each one gave us a little bit of time, except maybe the last one gave us a little bit of downtime, like where they were, like we sort of went straight into a big fight in that one, and then we had some downtime, this and that. But like it was good to sort of see the pacing there, and um, but there was some really great speech moments in that one, like it was actually getting to see Bastian and really learning all about his plan and his end game in that episode, and
Mhm.
his speeches about what he stood for and why he was doing what he was doing. They were really good, and then counterposed by Val Cooper's, like her speech at the end, where she sort of reveals that she's like rescued, well, not rescued, but let Magneto escape, and she's sort of talking about, and she sort of finishes with, Magneto was right. Um, like that was a really great speech as well. Whether or not
Yeah.
you agree with that or not, like I've seen lots of posts on the internet arguing back and forth, um, whether Magneto was right, sort of thing. But like, it's like, you're advocating like genocide and stuff. It's like, but just in terms of like a big, um, powerful moment, sort of thing, and addressing the themes that have been sort of going back and forth in the series, like that was really good. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that Magneto was right. It kind of struck me as just really funny how, and not funny in like a haha way, but funny in like, oh wow, I can't believe we've gotten to this point way where it was the first time the X-Men cartoon was able to really obviously kind of talk about how it was listening to the pulse of the fan base, right?
Mm,
Obviously, you couldn't do that back in the day.
yeah,
They made the cartoons. And they're like, here you go, kids, buy a
yeah,
toy, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
the, the conversation with the fans was practically non-existent. But now
Mm,
you have Twitter, you have all these platforms where people can say, hey, that was a great episode, and you have these weeks in between. And that was the first time where it really felt like the show was saying, I know exactly what the fans are saying right now, and I'm
mm,
going to call attention to that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what's really great about it is like that we've sort of like able to talk about all these things in a big sort of finale-esque sort of style episode. Um, because the other great thing we haven't really talked about a lot is the action in that episode. It was just amazing, like the fights with all the Sentinels, with the X-Men in the streets, and then like Beast and Wolverine and Nightcrawler and those guys defending the mansion. Like it's just so many like really good, like in a series that had already had a lot of great fight scenes already. Even from that very first episode, um, just so many great moments. Where like Wolverine's like and Nightcrawler like slashing through the guys, and using Nightcrawler's like using the sword. All those great lines like I got 6 reasons, and then Nightcrawler's like no 9. And it's like
Mhm.
I see what you did there, and then but that really cool bit where uh Wolverine's like stabs the Sentinel and then gets pulled through teleportation space with Nightcrawler, and they end up on the roof or whatever. But like getting to see what it's like from Nightcrawler's perspective when he when
Yes,
he teleports, like so like yeah, so many cool moments like that, with the fighting and stuff. But the I think maybe the standout though is these big speech moments and these investigation of themes and stuff. It's just it's the complete package of a show, and I think that's why we keep talking about why we're really loving this as a good quality show, because it's got everything. It brings some fantastic fight scenes, but it's not just an action fest. It's like it's you know it's just there to sort of support what is the more important thing, which is the story. Which yeah, so good.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you talking about that makes me want to watch it again right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's so good. And although, a couple of things. Um, again, I don't know which episode this is in, but Nightcrawler using his teleportation to go from the seat where he was sitting down to, I forget if it's Rogue or whoever's bedside, but someone wakes up from in their bed and he walks over to them, but instead of walking over, he like teleports over. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, man, that's pretty lazy.
He's like Taylor Swift with a private jet. He's just got to get there.
But I mean, I suppose if I had teleportation, I'd probably do the same thing. But that was pretty good. But yeah, there was another little minor moment like that. I can't remember what it was. But one thing I will say too, I'm filming downstairs today, and kids are out, so that's good. But my wife may come back at some point. So if I go and jump out of my seat, it's because the door's opened and someone's walked in, sort of thing. Because we've got this weird door that doesn't have proper handle, so to open it, you just have to like shove it. So it opens really loudly and really like suddenly when it opens everything. So just a warning to all the viewers out there: if I jump out, I fall off my chair or something,
So
or there's
on edge every time you're in that room.
or if there's a really loud noise that the camera picks up, like that's just the door opening. So all good. But such a good episode. I don't know if I've got any other notes. I think just and that's just sort of, what was that? That was episode 8. So
That was 8, yeah.
wow, and there were 2 more after that. That was so
right.
good.
Part 2 is these all really bleeded in to each
Yeah.
other.
Sometimes I'm mentioning fights and I don't know if I'm referring to the right episode. I'm like, did that happen in this one or that one?
I think part 9, I think episode 9 is when Bastion talks to all the supervillains, unless that was 8. I can't remember now, where he's got like Doctor Doom on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, talk about cameos. How good was that? Yeah,
Yeah.
Doctor Doom and like Baron Zemo and
and then there was another
someone else as well.
Was there a guy in Shadow? There was a guy who's like, we don't see who it
maybe.
is.
I can't remember. And but it reminds me as well, there was like a similar scene where they had like characters like T'Chaka and stuff in the world government sort of meeting. It was a similar sort of thing, had the underworld and then the nations and stuff, and that was cool seeing like the cameos there too. And another moment where Captain America is just like, no, sorry, I tried my best, but
sorry guys. I was holding my breath for Kingpin to show up in that meeting, but I was like, we'll save Kingpin for later. But if I see him again, I'm gonna go nuts. I'm gonna do laps around my living room. So part 2 of this Tolerance is Extinction, which is episode 9. That's where Magneto gets Asteroid M back up into the sky, and he's basically imposing, or rather inserting himself into the picture as another threat on top of Bastion. So now the X-Men this is where they kind of have to form up into their teams and go off and be like, okay, you guys take care of Magneto, we're going to take care of Bastion. And I gotta say, the second that I saw Wolverine was on the team getting sent to Magneto, it's like, this is not going to end well.
Yeah, no. And actually, I mean, first of all, I want to say how awesome. I totally forgot that it was in that previous episode. What an awesome ending where, like, so it's revealed Magneto's escaped. And what does he do? He goes straight to the North Pole, the South Pole somewhere, and just, like, EMPs the world sort of thing. He just, like, that. What an epic, like, whoa, okay, you could, like, this is how powerful Magneto is sort of thing. And this is what he can do if he just really like stops caring sort of thing. It's like, wow, that was such a cool, like, big moment sort of thing. And the other thing with that, because I think Professor X lands at the end of that episode, doesn't he, as well? And
that's right.
I was like, okay, Professor X, who gave you this like ship if you're just gonna like crash it into the thingy? But then I was watching it the second time. I'm like, oh, maybe the EMP thing like hit as he was coming down. Like maybe that fried his ship or something. That's why he crashed. Otherwise, it's like, come on, man. Like, did you need
I never learned to drive.
Or it's just really big drama queen that has to make an entrance. You can't possibly just land it. That was cool. But going back to this new one where Magneto, he sort of inserts himself, and what was interesting about that? Because I mean, with that one, I kind of knew this was something I knew that was going to happen. This was one of the things, very last things I remember. There were a bunch of things as I was leaving the comics, and that I remember around about this time was when Wolverine gets his adamantium ripped out by Magneto and all this sort of stuff. And I remember at the time thinking, okay, it's about time. Like, why didn't Magneto do this 50 issues ago? You know, like it would have been the obvious thing. But yeah, it was totally one of those things. You know, the the team, like the teams that they chose, I loved that they put the blue and the gold team together, because that was like when I was reading as well. I remember the blue and gold team, so I was like, oh, cool, they're doing the whole blue gold team. But
Yeah.
like they chose some bad lineups. Like, oh, let's put Cable against the guy that can easily mind control him, and let's put Wolverine against Magneto. I guess you could sort of say that, oh well, no one expected him to be that route. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's like yeah, it just never seems to make sense to put Wolverine against Magneto, because what's he gonna do? So, but that was cool. And um, the the other thing about knowing a little bit more about this storyline was, it was really interesting what seeing, and it totally made sense within how the season had been going. But I think from memory in the comics, in that storyline, some real bad stuff has gone down for Colossus, who's part of the
Ooh.
team at that stage. I think he loses Ileana, his sister or something. And so he's the one, I think, that probably comic book people are going to be like, you're totally wrong. It's this, but my memory is that I think he's the one that joins Magneto when that offer is made, not Rogue.
Oh.
Yeah. So, so that was kind of cool. It was like, wondering, oh, how are they going to do this, and yeah, seeing that they used Rogue, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, sort of thing. Like, yeah, it makes sense that
Yeah.
she would go and join him, sort of thing. And it was an epic scene too, you know, like this big giant thing coming down through the clouds and the atmosphere and stuff.
And it was
Um,
so classic, especially because Xavier's back. So it's such a classic idea of Xavier and Magneto having all these disciples, and then there's a difference in opinion,
mm,
and just some people start swaying away. It's like the end
yeah,
of X-Men 2, the movie, where Pyro's just like, no, see ya, I'm joining
yes,
these guys because they're gonna
yeah,
let me
yeah,
make fire.
yeah,
And you know, Magneto kind of uses Rogue's past with him and her anger. He uses Sunspot's anger. Like, again, you see that
yeah,
repeating itself, and it's sad when they start drawing those battle lines when you know that as a team they're at their strongest. So what a perfect way to just make it like the 11th hour, like, oh god, things can't get any worse, like,
yeah, yeah,
is to see the team get fractured like this.
yeah. And it was really good because it was like it gave sort of like, it brought together some of those different storylines that had, you know, they'd given each character the kind of their own storyline throughout, little mini storyline stuff. So like Sunspot sort of arc he went through with his family and that sort of thing. It's like, oh, it's sort of like really left him in a great spot to make that decision. You know, like the way his family had just, you know, without blinking an eye, just turned him over to the Sentinels. You know, like. Yeah, like it was like, oh yeah, they've really done a good job of setting up the pieces so that when that moment happens, it's like it totally feels believable which characters stayed and which characters left, sort of thing. That was
Yeah.
good. Yeah, yeah, just yeah, it's that good sort of long term within the season storytelling, sort of thing. That was good. It sort of makes me sort of also admire, but also maybe worry about, because one of the things I don't like, just because I love him as a character, is like in the comics, bad stuff sort of happens with Beast. He sort of becomes evil or something like that,
Oh no.
which I don't like the sound of. But I really like these little hints throughout this season where, like, you can see him becoming more and more disillusioned with, you know, the good fight, you know, and that, you know, doing it for the right reasons, and just in the face of all these people keep betraying him and stuff, he's getting more and more annoyed, sort of thing. So I'm like, oh no, are they setting up that for future seasons or whatever? But Yeah, but if so, I think they're doing it well. Like his sort of arc with Trish Tilby and that sort of thing as well. So yeah,
Yeah, they are setting it up nicely, and he and Rogue, Beast and Rogue always flip flop for who my favorite X-Man is. Depending on the day, I would say Beast or Rogue. And I
yeah,
agree with you. The thought of seeing Beast play the villain would just be like, oh no, I can't. He's too good a guy. I don't want to see that happen.
yeah. I've like, I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but like I am, and I get that. Okay, maybe it's good storytelling, blah blah blah. But I am horrified by what I hear about
Yeah.
the sort of current or slightly pre-current era of X-Men and stuff with that. I'm like, oh, I don't want to know about it.
Well, Dave, Diversion Architect, is in the chat. And he brings up a good point. He says, "I'd rather see Dark Beast from Age of Apocalypse fill the evil Beast role," and I agree. Make it a variant. Let it be a variant,
right,
and that's it.
That I'm okay with. We could reset that. That's good. But, yeah. I've just realised I've had the comments off this whole time, so apologies to anyone who's been making comments and I haven't seen it. So yeah, sorry. But
No problem.
yeah.
And then that's sort of that rift leads to this final battle where Magneto gets stabbed and Wolverine gets all his metal pulled out, and it's just Bo DeMeo, the showrunner. He wasn't kidding when he said that episode 5 was just a warm up. Like this was brutal. At least those deaths in episode 5 were pretty quick. This got really, really brutal. And again, like just leaving you on that image of Wolverine all twisted up. And what a great way to lead into the finale.
Yeah, and I like how they set it up so that both fights were interconnected and it really the timing mattered. Like they, if you took care of Magneto too quickly, then that would leave the Sentinels being a problem and that sort of thing. So that was really epic. And I mean, we haven't really even touched on the fight on the ground yet in that episode, which was just as epic. Like that the fight with Sinister and all his sort of abilities and that sort of thing, fighting like Jean Grey and using Cable against her and that sort of thing. And we had like the morph smash, which is really cool. That was probably and I like how they used him to try and trick Bastion, like where he pretended to be Sinister, running into that room and that sort of thing. I think that might have been in the next episode, but
I can't remember now.
Yeah, like that was really, like that itself was a really awesome sort of fight scene as well, and that classic line of like and just not just the line but the talk that Rogue and Jean had together. I think that was really important to sort of brought them back together, and they had that really good chat, or like pep talk sort of thing where they talked each other up, and then that whole make them mind your weather and weather your mind and that's that was epic beautiful. As well. So just both those fight scenes really gave, and throughout this whole sort of couple episodes, they really sort of gave everyone really good moments. And I think this was probably my favorite one for Morph, because if there's one character that I felt like, especially considering all the controversy online about how Morph offended a few folks and stuff like that, like I felt like he was, I wish we'd got to see more from him, but I guess it's like Wolverine, like it was good to have them there, and this just wasn't necessarily their season to get the big moments and stuff, and that might come down the track, but like they always just kind of like seem to chuck him in a fight. Like he turned into someone for a cameo and then get knocked out or pushed. Just like he never really seemed like his powers didn't seem to have any real big impacts on the fights and stuff. But this one where he turned into Hulk and then like she used him as Hulk and threw like the Hulk around and stuff, was really cool. I liked that, so I thought that was really good.
The good thing about Morph being so sidelined here is I think at least back in the original cartoon, he probably had the most complete story arc out of any of them.
That's true. Yeah.
So they could get away with just kind of having him be like, hey, I've learned, I've kind of reached my hero's journey. I'm good. Let me just turn into Moon Knight now. Like
and he still had like there was still some interesting it wasn't like he was completely devoid of arc and storyline here, and it was like that was that scene where he kind of like, it seems like he's like using Jean Grey's body to try and comfort Wolverine, but it's also you kind of sort of getting the sense that he's also kind of like professing his own feelings for Wolverine and stuff as
Yeah.
well. So that was an interesting way to do that, where he sort of is brave enough to say it, but not really, because A, he's passed out, and
Yeah,
B, like
exactly.
he's using someone else's body to do it, sort of thing. So that was a real interesting, and also that he knows that the person's body that he's using is someone that Wolverine does like, sort of thing. And so that was, yeah, that was an interesting sort of thing. But yeah, just so, like, I just really liked how both of those fight scenes were interconnected, and then led to this final episode sort of thing. That was good. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
yeah,
very Return of the Jedi style climax development
yeah.
where you've got, people on Endor and the people on the
Oh
Death Star, like
yeah,
they need
yeah, yeah.
to do what they're doing to co-plan everything, and it
Mm,
works out beautifully.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
then this final battle, I mean, half of it kind of was lost on me because I'm just sitting there surrounded by my buddies, and we're all just like, what? Phoenix is here, and then like we're
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it was a beautiful culmination of everything, and I love how most of the action was like they got taken care of in episode 9, and episode 10 was just about the consequences. And I think
Yeah.
that was good, where we still had a lot of big action, a lot of stuff
Mm,
happened, but most of it was taking place on a more emotional battlefield,
yeah,
even
yeah.
with Phoenix, because that is
Mm,
less of a physical thing.
yeah, yeah. And I mean that's yeah, I'm glad you made that point, because it's one of the notes I sort of written down is that, yeah, despite similar to what we were talking about before, despite all the action going on, and because that fight with Bastion was huge, it was like epic. How are they ever going to take him down? Sort of thing. He just
Yeah.
kept going and going and going, and with lots of great sort of scenes and fights, and just um, I don't know what you call it, but like the beats in that fight, like the particular moments from time to time. Like
Mhm.
a lot of those were really cool. Like not Wolverine, Jubilee doing her thing where she comes in and smacks him, and her glasses are all messed up. Like
Yeah.
little hero moments like that. But um, the thing that's probably I thought was just amazing was the stuff going on with Magneto and um, Professor X in his mind, sort of thing. That whole just exploring their relationship and his trauma and all of that, like that was really well done. And as much as like it's this, like been seeing the same argument over and over and over with Wolverine and Magneto. They have the same conversation every time for like however many years this has been going on for, but it still felt I was really invested in it. I thought both were making good points, and well, not that Magneto was really making a lot of points in that one, but like it still like it was really riveting stuff. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. So, and that's in an episode, big finale, big epic sort of set piece, final sort of confrontation that they've got to have and solve all this sort of stuff. Even after they've kind of defeated Bastion, they're still trying to stop the ship from crashing down. The thing that really still stands out to me is that battle in Magneto's mind, sort of thing. That was just so good.
It's such a credit to how good these characters are that
Mm.
after hundreds of times, like you said, of seeing the two of them butt heads on a philosophical level, it never gets old.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
gets old. I can watch those two argue all day long.
Yeah, as much as Magneto in that previous episode tells him to shut up, puts the thing on his mouth, you still want to hear them keep going, right? And although one thing, this is another one of those things I'm sure someone will point out that I didn't pay attention enough, but like, um, when they so the whole thing was that like Magneto had the helmet to protect his mind or whatever, and then it gets taken off, and then in that tussle with Wolverine, and then Xavier is able to like blast him with his mind or whatever. But then Scott zaps him and stops that, and then I think Magneto puts the helmet on Charles's head.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
that
and so
happened.
that sort of protects him, right,
Yeah.
from Charles. But then I'm not sure at what point did that stop happening, because like then it it's at some point then all the next scene is like um Charles inside his head, and I don't know how, like, how did that helmet come off Charles's head? Like how I must have missed that or something. Because I'm like, wait a minute, he had the helmet on him, so how has Charles got into his mind again? So I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it was maybe Magneto was keeping the helmet there, like kind of
Yeah,
keeping it on him with his powers. And once Wolverine stabbed him and he got kind of carried away with Wolverine,
yeah, maybe
Xavier
someone.
was able to
Yeah,
pull it off or
no,
something.
yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the last thing I remember is he still had that helmet on. He's like, no, for the love of God, don't do it or whatever. And then I think the changes between the episodes, because then you see Wolverine get like the stuff ripped out of him, and that's the end of the episode. And then the beginning of the next episode, at some point, I think we just go straight to his. I don't know, but I'd probably need to watch it a third time, because yeah. But anyway, that's a minor sort of thing. I just was wondering if someone had picked that up. Maybe Dave or someone will be able to help us out with that. But yeah, the other thing too, I don't know if it was this episode or the previous one, but there were lots of awesome cameos just with showing stuff going on the street levels. You know, like Daredevil and
Yeah.
Cloak and Dagger and all those guys. That was cool as well. And yeah, the even Alpha Flight getting involved
Alpha
as the
Fly got
Cyclops.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
this
that was
episode.
cool.
That was the finale.
Yeah.
Because when Peter Parker and Mary Jane showed up, my
Yes.
friends
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
all yelled.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, are they going to say anything? Are they going to say? And then
Yeah.
they didn't say a word. But man, to see Peter and MJ again was like, that
Yeah.
was that was something
Cool.
special. And I love the idea of the climax of all of this being Asteroid M is crashing down, because I could be wrong, but I think it's the first time in the cartoon's whole history where the mutants are saving the world on a big scale, and the world the world sees it happen, the world sees itself being saved by X-Men,
Mm.
because usually they're pretty low key. Like they
Yeah.
do big stuff out in space, but like
Mm.
the president and whatever doesn't know they fought the Shi'ar or whatever. Like that's not
Yeah.
making the news. But now they are
Yeah.
publicly on display saving everybody, and I think that's the first time that's happened. And it's really
Mm.
cool for this group who are like downtrodden, ostracized group, and all of a sudden, how can you hate them? They're heroes.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't really go that well for them, because they like even if the people don't, the people start liking them, they like get ripped through time, so they're not there to be liked
Yeah.
anyway. But the other thing too is like they're sort of saving them from themselves, because it's like they're like, what would they think? Like they shot the missiles up at Asteroid M, and then so they were successful, and Asteroid M starts crashing to Earth, and they're like, oh, we didn't think about that Asteroid M would just start crashing to Earth and
Yeah.
destroy us. Well, it was like, that wasn't a great plan. But I don't know, maybe the plan was that it would not fall, I don't know, not fall to Earth or whatever. But like, yeah, it's just like, and then with the news reporting, they were like, oh yeah, we shot some missiles to try and intercept thingy, but it didn't work. I was like, that's not what happened, you guys. It's all
Leave
gonna be
it to the
fine. Yeah,
news to
yeah,
color the truth a little bit.
yeah. But yeah, no, it was like, I think, yeah. The only thing is, it's like you're right. Like, yes, I think people would have seen that, but I don't know. It's like with the real world. Like, I don't know if people would have taken the right lessons from it, and they probably still would have found a way to blame the mutants or whatever. But yeah. But then I love what an epic like setup, because it was just so out of left field sort of thing. It was like, oh look, yeah, we've slowed it down. Magneto's woke. That was a great epic too thing. That they woke up just in time to like, you know, stop it from falling and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And then just out of the blue, just boom, it gone. It's like, oh what? So that was really cool. But I'm really excited for the like where the next storyline goes, and that sort of thing as well. And I see some people sort of making comments about, oh, we think this is being set up and that's set up, sort of thing, and so that'll be exciting too. Not knowing a lot about some of the different storylines they're talking about, just seeing what they decide to do, because they took a lot of great storylines this season and blended them into something that was its own thing.
Right.
I thought really well. So I'm interested to see what they do, and if they can keep the success going, because it was like just that cool scene with prehistory Apocalypse was really cool. Man, wouldn't that be an awesome MU figure, Marvel United figure? That old school Apocalypse would be so good.
Yeah.
I was like, there's another one. Chuck it in the box for the X-Men '97 core set,
Exactly.
He looked so good. I was like, yeah, I'd happily have a variant if he looked like that, sort of thing, for Apocalypse. So that was cool. And then what was the other one in the future they had? That's right, Ascani and like child Cable or something as well. Yeah,
his mother, the Ascani clan. Yeah, that whole setup. I mean, talk about a great cliffhanger ending. It kind of gave me Back to the Future 2 ending vibes, where it's like, oh, the Doc is trapped in the Old West, and I'm trapped here, and I got to go back and get him. And I don't know, Dave. I don't know if Beverly Crusher voiced the Scotty, but she may have. I didn't check that. That would be Gates McFadden, right? Maybe, yeah, that would make sense. She'd be the right age. Yeah, maybe that was her. I think that this idea of splitting them through time is brilliant. I admittedly, Apocalypse is my least favorite X-Men villain, but I'm still excited to see what they do with this, especially because I know that there are bajillions of people out there, and most of them are in the Marvel United fan group, who are Age of Apocalypse fans. And I know that story has not been adapted yet in X-Men the Animated Series.
Don't think so. They've done some time travel things, stuff like that, but not that whole alternate world sort of thing. I think Legion is sort of like a catalyst for that in the comics, but I could totally see them setting it up differently or whatever with or they might do it. They might bring him in and use that as well. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe I mean, like you said, they've done such a great job in this season of just meshing things together. I think they'll find a nice happy medium to get everything.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the other thing too is I like how they showed that scene where Bishop shows back up again with Forge.
Yes.
Where does Cable end up? Does he get? I forget where Cable is. Did we see? Is he in one of the time travel things, or is he?
Cable,
or is he back on?
I can't remember if he's with the future or the past. Most of them ended up in the past. I think the future group was smaller. I think it was Cyclops, Jean, and maybe Cable.
Yeah. I don't know. Or was he
back on still in the present? Yes, he's the one. He's stuck in the present with Bishop. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we have 3 groups, which is even cooler now that they're all vying for stuff. And I was telling my friend, we were kind of chatting about it afterward, and I thought, I think the most fun you could have with this is because the last time we saw Apocalypse, he was pretty much dead and gone. Like, he was erased from existence, right? They had that big 4-part thing in the animated series where Immortus showed up and he erased Apocalypse from the universe. They did a huge thing about it. So
I have very little memory of I went back and watched the original a while ago, maybe a year ago, but I can't remember it all. But
they do tend to run together.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, how what are they going to do to bring him back then after all that? And I think that a really fun way that this could happen is if the people in the past are doing things that inadvertently get young Apocalypse on the road to becoming a tyrant. And the more they mess up in the past, the worse the future gets for all the other characters. And then they kind of have to balance it out, do the same thing they did here, where it's like, hey, you're on the ground and I'm an asteroid M. We have to work in tandem. They got to do that without being able to communicate with each other.
And maybe those guys, Bishop and those guys, will be able to somehow like piece that together, or like, you know, communicate with them to help. I don't know, something like that. Because he said like,
Yeah.
oh, because he seems to know that they're uh, lost in time, right? They might not know that they're lost in different points in time, but he seems to know that they're lost in time, sort of thing. So that's interesting. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And I really like how in the present, with that board where he's looking at all the mutants that are kind of like still around and that sort of stuff, it also creates this ability for them to bring in some of those other characters like Kitty Pryde, and I forget who else is on there, but I noticed Havoc with his cool jacket is I think one of the guys in the photo. So it'd be cool if we could sort of bring, if it gives us the room in the show now where we can bring in some of those characters like Colossus or Kitty Pryde that are also kind of like classic X-Men, but just weren't in that animated series collection of them, so we can you know, give them some time, sort of thing as well. So that'd be cool. And I think we're going to see looks like we might see some of the storyline where Apocalypse uses characters like Gambit and stuff, and maybe even Wolverine as like Death as well, or some of his horsemen and stuff. So we might get to see some of those guys come back in a different way. And just touching on Cable as well, that's another scene I really enjoyed. For someone who thinks Cyclops is a douchebag, I really thought that scene was great, where they had him having that great sort of moment. Well, not just him and Jean having that really great moment with Cable, and, you know, taking off the glasses and showing the eyes. That was like
Yes.
such a nice moment, and it makes me sort of realize that maybe just certain storylines have given Cyclops short shrift, and maybe he's not as douchey a character as I think he is, sort of thing. So
Yeah, they
I
really
think,
gave him his due in this
yeah,
season.
I think done right, he can be quite a cool character, sort of thing. So yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that moment. That was cool. So yeah, just so many good moments in that whole series. Just like they really gave the characters their moments, not just action scenes and stuff. That was, yeah, it's really good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then that kind of brings us to the end of this season. And like, they delivered, man. I don't know about you, but overall, I think that they delivered and then some with this promise that could have gone wrong in so many ways. But they told an excellent story. They left us wanting more. They left the door open for so many new possibilities. I think they would be crazy not to commence a shared animated universe alongside the MCU at this point.
Yeah. Like the only I'm just nervous about and whatever happened. I don't know what the story is with the showrunner. What was his name? Bo
Bo
DeMayo.
DeMayo.
Bo DeMayo. Not sure what's happened there, but man, like, it makes me nervous for future seasons about what the, like, how much was his input into the show, like how much of what we're enjoying so much is it like a one-man thing, or is it like, you know, there's a huge team, so you know, they'll be fine without him or whatever. But the fact that we know that he's kind of like being removed from the picture there, and I don't want to say, you know, oh, that's bad that they, you know, because I didn't really look into what happened, but I'm sort of like, oh, I hope they can keep the quality of it good going forward. You know, and I guess from in all sorts of shows, from season to season, people come and go and that sort of stuff. So, and hopefully they can sort of keep it going. But yeah, I just fingers crossed.
Yeah, same here. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard good things. I've heard that they're using his plans for season 2. So even if he's not going to be physically present, I think that his spirit is going to keep living on in the show, at least for the second season.
Yeah.
But here's hoping that, you know, the quality kind of stays where it is. And that's a high bar now. That's going to be tough. There's going to be, you know, season 2 could be excellent, but we have to prepare ourselves for a lot of people saying, it wasn't as good as season 1. Like, that's inevitable when you have something that started off so well.
Yeah.
Right.
And that could be totally valid. It could be excellent and still not be as good as season 1 because
Exactly.
but yeah, as long as it's yeah, just we're hoping for quality. Just
Yes, please.
yeah,
Quality, please.
quality. Yeah.
Before we move on to our anticipation, is there one
hmm
character, Maple Monkey, one
hmm
X-Men character that
hmm
you didn't get to see in this season that you want to see in season 2?
That we didn't get to see. Okay, so I don't know. Not, I mean, nothing really stands out. Like there's no one I'm like, oh, this this was really lacking in that character. I think if I had to pick some classic ones that I from the team, maybe Colossus. I can't remember
Mm,
if we saw him in the background. I don't know if we saw him in the background of like Genosha or anything like that, because there were a bunch of characters that we sort of saw for fleeting moments there. But I kind of like him. I think he's an interesting character. Yeah. So if I had to pick anyone, I'd maybe say him. But him not being in this season wasn't a thing for me. Like it'd be easy for me to say someone in X Factor, right? Because I love my X Factor thing. But
right.
this is not really it. You know, this is not really their story. Like if they did a separate X Factor show, fine. Or if they brought in like a sub sort of storyline in next season because they're sort of maybe that the team that actually are investigating things in the present are the X Factor team or something like that.
Right.
Cool or whatever. But um, I don't really feel like the show needs it. I think keep it to the core, that the heart of that regular roster, and I think Colossus fits in with that. The other one you could probably say is Kitty Pryde, but I'm not as invested in her. I never really read many comics where she was in it, so I'm more sort of
Same.
familiar with Colossus. But maybe like and not even like villains, because all of my favorite villains were like Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister, and those guys, because they were and the Sentinels, essentially, because they were the ones I remember being in the comics in those days, sort of thing. So I'm not even missing any real villains there, so I'm just happy to see what we get, sort of thing. So yeah, so I guess it's probably not a very interesting answer, but I don't really have any burning sort of characters that I'm missing.
No,
Not
that's
like
good. That speaks to the
Marvel
quality
United.
of the show. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Marvel
yeah.
United, that's a whole other stuff.
What about you? Is there anyone you're like really
I
looking
think,
forward to?
and maybe this is so on the nose that maybe it's a boring answer, but I want to know what Deadpool is like in this animated universe.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep.
Especially because now Cable is stuck in the present. He's separate from the team. It's a
Mm-hmm.
perfect time and place to just kind of put those two together and just watch them have fun.
Yeah,
Or watch Deadpool have fun at Cable's expense anyway, because that's usually what
yeah.
happens. So yeah, I want to know what that's like. I think you can easily do Deadpool and still have him be edgy without having him be Ryan Reynolds edgy.
Yeah.
Like the comics are proof of that. So I wouldn't
Mm.
mind seeing how that goes.
Yeah, yeah. What about Dave saying Deadpool Cable story would be great. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be even like a little set, like it could sort of become like a little, for a couple of episodes, like a little side story or something like that would be fun. The only thing I think I've seen about this is that Bo DeMayo guy had come out and said like, oh yeah, no, like that was like the one thing that was like explicitly, we were told, off the table. So I don't
Yes.
know, I don't know how much we should be hoping for it, because I don't know if we're going to get that. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe once the movie comes out, this Wolverine Deadpool movie comes out, like maybe they would just wanted to keep that separate for a bit. Maybe once that comes out, they'll.
That's
I
what
mean,
I would hope, right? Like,
wouldn't
I
it be
mean,
amazing?
like
Well,
especially because the seasons would take so long too, right, to make. Like I don't know how
yes,
long
yeah.
it's gonna take, but like the movie will be out, and
Mm,
it goes back to that problem from like Spider-Man, the cartoon, where it's like, no, you can't use Sandman or Electro because James Cameron might be making a movie with them, and it's like, okay, can we get away from that and just let the toy box be the toy box? So
mm,
hopefully by the time season 2 gets made, they won't have that problem. They can throw him in.
Well, I was going to say, wouldn't it be great if they established it by in this movie that's about to come out, as they're traveling through multiverses and stuff, we actually see the Marvel United, sorry, Marvel United. I've got that on the brain. The Marvel, the X-Men '97 universe.
That's a great idea,
cool,
man.
Yeah.
That's
he
so
opens
cool.
the door and it's all like animated. He's like, "Whoops, wrong door" or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
And a blank diversion archetype.
And Blink,
yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah.
Well, who knows when season 2 is? Maybe it'll arrive the same time Marvel United Multiverse arrives on our
Yeah.
Oh boy. But at least we can keep anticipating, and we can keep. We can't count down the days anymore because we don't know when the days are. But we can keep getting excited, and talk about what excites us about this game, at least just to tide us over.
Yes. Let me get my notes. I accidentally closed my notebook. I'm like, I'm going to have to find that page again. No, I got it. Yeah, so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had talked about that we're going to maybe look at top 5 characters I'm looking forward to, and maybe top 5 expansions as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've kind of prepared both lists, although I found the top 5 characters really hard to narrow down to a top 5.
It is. It was difficult, and I'm really curious to know who yours are, because I mean, there's one that I know is on there, and then the rest it could be a total grab bag, right? So
yeah.
I wonder if we'll have any crossover in those at all.
It's. I don't think so. It depends on, like, because I'm still flip-flopping in my mind, like, will I say this person here, or will I say the one I've written down for the thing? There's certainly some that I think you might be looking forward to that I'm really excited for. But I found it really hard. I almost sort of wanted to make 2 lists, or stretch my thing to a top 10, because it's like, in terms of who am I looking forward to having the model, and painting that model and that sort of thing, and who am I looking forward to for their rules and what we know about their rules coming out and that sort of thing as well. So, so that's interesting. So I think I've kind of gone more rules based, but I think if I'm looking at models, I think we might have had some more crossover. So if you have any that I would have had in my other list, I'll let you know.
Okay. I didn't even think of it from a model's perspective. That's what I get for not being a painter. I totally overlooked that point of view. So let's start with the expansion boxes, because there are fewer of those. So there's definitely going to be some crossover there.
You would think so, yeah.
Totally, you would think, it could go either way, actually. What do you have for your number 5 expansion box?
5th one. All right. Well, this is. Can we also give, just briefly at the beginning of each one, our least favorite, like the thing we're least looking forward to?
I like that a lot.
All right. So my least looking forward to thing, just briefly, is probably the that spacey one. What's the spacey one? Annihilation. Simply because it doesn't. I mean, it looks like actually some really interesting characters, and like from their rules and stuff, interesting. But like, it's the spacey stuff of Marvel United. Apart from like where it like kind of crosses over a bit with the X-Men and stuff, it's probably my least knowledgeable and like least interesting for me realm. But number 1. Because to be honest, like I said, I think their characters look interesting and they'd be fun to play with. But it's they add another mode to make things harder. I don't want no complications deck. I want more. If you gave me an expansion pack with just a duplicate double wilds for every character, so I could add like a 13th card, like another double wild card to my deck, that I would back that in an instant. That'd be amazing. But so that's the one I'm least looking forward to, because it's got a whole new set of mode that I don't think I'll ever want to play with, and characters that I'm not as knowledgeable about and that sort of thing. But anyway, so Annihilation is my least favorite.
Annihilation's at your bottom. All right.
But I still went all in and wanted to get it because it's got cool models and I want to paint them, and they look like they've got some cool rules and stuff. And also it's fun to learn about these new characters, right? That's kind of cool as well. So that's cool. But all right, let's get into it. So my number 5. All of these can sort of flip flop around too. Like it's in some days this is my number 1, but this one sort of surprised me how much I had forgotten that it existed, which is the Galactus box set. So in looking forward to the whole new season and stuff, I sort of completely forgot that this season, even before they sort of announced or started the campaign, they announced that there was going to be this giant Galactus sort of set and stuff like that. And I just, yeah, I don't know. I just completely forgot that there's the huge Galactus mode coming out. But then when I remembered a couple of weeks ago or whatever, I was just like, oh yeah, that's really excited. So I'm really excited about it again now. And I'm like really, really looking forward to it. Like just the fact that it's kind of like a little mini, what's that set called from Sinister Six, in that it's got like, it's one of those, big bang for your buck, because it's got like heaps of characters. Like you get Galactus, what a massive cool mode that's going to be. Plus it comes with those 4 guys as his henchmen, and then then you get the mode where you can use the henchmen by themselves, and then you can use each of them individually by themselves as well. Then you got the thing where you can mix in Silver Surfer, and then that Dave's going to make some sort of module where you can have like 1,000 different heralds, like it's just like, it seems like it's going to be a great value box with lots of cool different stuff, lots of ways to get replayability out of it. You get those cool like pieces of the world, so you can play like the global map and all that sort of thing. Just a very cool set, and I think the only thing sort of like making it not like in my top 1 sort of thing, even though sometimes it does pop back up there, is that I know that I tend to, as much as I'm looking forward to like the big Galactus mode and stuff, I expect it to be hard. And I expect it to be maybe not one that I'm always going to pull out and want to play a lot, like the Apocalypse mode. And as much as I love the Sentinel Nimrod mode as well, it's one of those ones that like it's not one that I always feel like playing all the time, sort of thing. So
right.
So there's that, and then the other thing that knocks it down to number 5 is I was really excited about it until I saw the recent update, and they had all the they had all the different what are they, the map, the locations, and I was like, oh, look at like in North America, yeah, and like look at like South America, and yeah, look at all these cool abilities. And then bloody Australia's one is like, or sorry, Oceania's one or whatever, but it's like, oh, your special ability is that your character dies and is removed from the game. I'm like, what? And it's like, come on, man. Like, I know we've got this like thing, oh, everything in Australia will kill you, mate. There's like a couple of spiders and a couple of snakes. Everything else in this country is like a bloody teddy bear. Like our animals are not scary at all. We don't have lions or tigers or bears. We've got like numbats and like quokkas. They're all essentially like variants of a mouse. Like they're not scary. Like everywhere's got spiders and snakes. Like we just happen to have some scary ones, but like Australia's not that scary. There's not that many things out there that will kill you. The biggest thing we've got is like a kangaroo. Like
right.
and it won't eat you. Like it'll go you if you go near it. It'll kick your guts out, but just stay away from it. Sort of. It's not that bad. And our special rule is that you just get yeeted from the game if you step foot in Australia. Come on.
I didn't even realize they made that the rule. That's crazy.
yeah. All of a sudden there'll be some kangaroo will come past and like take me out in a second. Yeah. We've got like the scary things are all the spiders and the snakes are scary. There's some jellyfish. There's like drop bears. And the cassowary. The cassowary is probably the most terrifying thing.
Oh yeah.
If you don't go near Queensland, you're okay. So
I've seen some of those cassowaries in action in the documentary, and it's like, oof.
Yeah.
And no. I'm not an arachnophobic person. I'm afraid of like bees and wasps. Like when they come around me, I'm just like, I'm not like spider phobic, but I've seen some of the spiders down there in Oz, and like if one of those was near me, I'd be like, time to move.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the spider thing, yeah. there's some terrifying spiders, and like just the household spider that we get is like the size of my hand. And whenever I walk into a room and see those, I jump a mile. But like they don't eat you or anything. Like they kind of just sit there and they eat all the other spiders and they eat all the other things.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like I want to burn the house down when I when I see them rather than deal with them. But like I've emptied entire things of like spray on them. They still keep coming at me. But
Oh
um,
wow.
but we're not that bad. Like I don't think we should like get yeeted out of the game just for stepping in Australia. Anyway,
Maybe that's the delay. That was the whole part of the delay. They had to change Australia's end of term effect.
Yeah, that's the only downside with the Galactus box is I was finally going to get like an Australian location, and it's like this location that I'm never going to want to use. I get that there's probably like, you probably actually it's not a bad idea to like get your character out of the game because then you get a brand new character that I essentially, as far as I'm working out, you get like a full hand of cards, so you kind of extended your ability to last in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't like that we have to yeet our characters out because that's the other thing. You spend all this time picking your character, and then it's like, oh, now we don't get to use them. So yeah,
that's one of the things that's annoying about Infinity Gauntlet. Whenever Thanos is around, I'm like, I really got to go get another person.
I've made that upstarts villain fight where like you got to rescue the different mutants from the upstarts, and the rule is technically when a mutant gets like killed, you go and get another one from the box and sort of set them up. But I've put in rules saying if you can't be bothered, just reset the original mutants deck back up because it's like I get it. I don't want to have to go back in the box after I've set up.
Exactly.
So yeah, all good. How about what's your number 5? What's your
all right. So my least favorite expansion is definitely Secret Invasion.
With the Skrulls, right?
With the Skrulls, yeah. I'm not a Skrull fan. They just kind of bore me. The Secret Invasion show didn't do them any favors either. The idea of just these aliens who are just like, hey, we can morph. It's like, great, there's like 5 other Marvel characters who can do that, and they're more interesting than just a Skrull. So the fact that they had this huge box that's just full of Skrulls and then full of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, I'm just like, it was just the weakest one for me.
It's probably right up there, I think, with me. Like if it wasn't going to be the space one, and really the difference there was that complications deck, like
right,
that it adds that. I'm like, I don't want the complications. But not very interesting heroes, not very interesting villains. And then it doesn't really add anything else, does it? Like, is there like a mode or something? There might be some sort of a challenge or something.
I don't think so. No.
That's the other thing. It doesn't really add. Like, so unless you like that storyline and you like the Skrulls and stuff, and I feel like we had like the Super Skrull already. So I actually quite like the Super Skrull as a fight. He's quite an interesting fight. But. Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe the Skrulls will be an amazing fight once we see it in action. But just as it stands, that box on paper is just like.
I kind of have a bit of a soft spot for like old school Nick Fury as well. As much as I really love like new Nick Fury as well. Like just remembering that sort of like salt and pepper sort of haircut he had and the and the eye patch and stuff, like he was kind of a one I remember from back in the day sort of thing. So it's kind of cool seeing him, and like Ronan's kind of cool, but not a lot of stuff to get too excited about there.
The Fury is definitely the biggest selling point of that box for me.
Julia Carpenter, who's Julia? She
was Spider-Woman, and then she ended up being a Skrull.
Okay. I thought she was like support act for Taylor Swift on her concert tour or something at the moment. So wasn't there someone Carpenter or something?
That's the multiverse. But my number 5, and it was tough picking number 5, but I think right now, at least today, my number 5 is Civil War. And it was hard to figure out where I ranked Civil War because it's a villain-free box. And that's kind of a downer, right?
But,
like depending on who you ask, that box could be last place and I would totally get it. And then depending who you ask, it could be first place and I totally get it.
Yeah.
I think just what puts it there for me is I like the thematic idea of the box. I will try the registration clash stuff, even though I usually play solo. But more than that, I love the idea of an expansion box that has 10 heroes in it, and one of them is big. And these characters that I've been wanting for a while, like Kate Bishop and Spectrum, and like there's just a lot of good juicy stuff in there, and some nice updates to Captain America and Iron Man. So like, if you ask me tomorrow, this might be lower, but I just feel like right now this was a good place to put it.
Yeah, I get all those points you're saying, like, and I think for me the fact that it's PvP puts it on the lower end. It would probably be after Scroll Land or whatever that one's called, Secret Invasion.
I wish it was called Scroll Land.
Yeah, Scroll Land. Yeah, but the positives are pretty, like, there's some of the stuff I'm like in there I'm like really excited for, like that roster of heroes. There's like tons of good heroes in there. Whether you want, like, whether your thing is like the big gimmicky sort of like big model guy for Giant Man, whatever his name is, and then you've got the multi-arm Spider-Man guy,
and Hulkling. Hulkling is going to be a cool figure.
Oh yeah, like and then the Captain America Iron Man like remakes and stuff, they're like awesome as well. So yeah, it's just that there's no villains, and that I don't know, I don't really love the idea of the multiplayer sort of thing. But in terms of that, though, I think it does look like probably maybe the most interesting multiplayer version, because it's like it's not that half and half. Oh, we're working against each other to beat the villain in the blue and gold team, which is always a bit of a weird. Trying to do that semi co-op thing is always a bit weird. So just having it be straight competition, I think, could make it the best of the thingies, because again, I haven't really played the other version, like the super hit villain mode or whatever, where one person plays the villain. So that's straight competition, but I don't know how much fun that is for the person being the villain. I don't know. So this looks like it could be, if I'm going to try any PvP mode, maybe I'll end up really loving it, sort of thing. So yeah, it's a weird one.
It's a really complicated one. That's why it's only my number 5 today. We'll see how we feel. What's your number 4?
So my number 4, let me remember. My number 4. Oh, yeah, okay. So my number 4 is Age of Apocalypse. So it's an interesting one. Like it's and I should say, just mentioning before I say this, Dave's number 5, and if anyone else wants to jump in the comments, like, let us know what your things are too. Dave said his is War of Kings.
Yes.
And excited for adjacent stories with Vulcan and Gladiator there. That'd be pretty good. That's definitely, it's one of those ones it's I like the idea of it, and there's some sweet models in there too, like the oh, hold on. Oh no, okay, yeah. I was gonna say, oh wait, is this character in the Civil War box? But actually I think I'm thinking of the guy that's purple. There's like a purple guy in
War of Kings. Yeah, there's the Gladiator. He's purple.
Oh no, wait. So hold on. In Way of Kings, there's the awesome crystal model with all the stuff going on around her. Then in when I say purple, I mean, I think, isn't there like translucent purple stuff going on with? Is it Wonder Man?
That's right. Yeah, in Civil War. Yeah, Wonder Man. Yeah,
Wonder Man. But then I was like, oh, the other one I'm really looking forward to is actually in the box I'm talking about, which is a good choice, Dan. Is X-Man, and the guy with the yellow all coming off him. He looks really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a funny thing, because I think I haven't tackled any of those guys with the translucent stuff yet, because I know I want to leave them translucent, but I also am I feel like I'm leaning more and more towards, I think I'd rather just undercoat them and paint them, rather than half painting and half leaving translucent. So the more and more of these ones they bring out look awesome with their cool effects, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. But then I'm like, oh, am I just going to want to paint over them anyway? I don't know. So, yeah. So, what is that? I just heard a weird sound in my computer. I'm just making sure that my battery is still plugged in and everything. It looks like it is. So if I disappear, what is that?
The
Some
kangaroo's
weird.
got your battery.
Yeah, yeah. There's some like drop bears like jumped on the on the cables or something. But yeah. So but yeah, this Age of Apocalypse thing. It's got like at first I wasn't really interested in it because I didn't like the idea of that story back in the day. It was one of the things that as I was leaving the comics, I was like, ugh, okay, you're gonna like completely rewrite all of the characters I'm interested in and like throw out all the character progression, all the storylines, and just like completely remake the universe. Lame, I'm out, sort of thing. And so back in the day, I didn't like it, and then I liked that then like it only went for a certain period of time and then they reverted everything back. I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, since like hearing more about it and like meeting Dave and hearing all how excited he is about it and his insights into it and his cool campaign and characters and stuff that he's made with that, I'm like, I'm actually really, I can appreciate it more now as a story and what it was about, especially knowing that they didn't just completely destroy that world. Because I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned this before on the channel, but like I'm still recovering from when they wiped out the Warhammer world and brought in this whatever this new world is. I loved my empire, but anyway, like they just destroyed that whole thing and just threw it out the window. It's like,
Oh wow.
So yeah, this new Age of Apocalypse one, I'm making it sound really bad, but like it's like I'm interested in the story now, but then the characters that are in it, like we get that cool guy with the see-through helmet thing. We get hero version of Magneto that's not, I'm assuming is not going to be, how like the anti-hero versions of like Magneto, he was kind of like, because he's kind of like a bit of a jerk, he kind of doesn't help your team as much as other characters kind of do. So this is going to be like, oh, you get a character that's like a more noble sort of Magneto. Maybe I don't know. I actually don't know. Maybe he's not that noble in the comics in this world, but like it's a different way of playing him. You get like a different version of Apocalypse where you don't have to sort of necessarily tie it to that horseman sort of thing as much. You get guys like X-Man. That really cool Sabretooth with the dude on his shoulder. There's just some really interesting models in there that I'm really looking forward to that sound like they're going to have some cool rules as well. So, and then Dark Beast as well, who I can get behind because he's from an alternate universe as well. So, yeah, so one that I initially was like, oh, not so sure about. Now I'm like quite interested in, sort of thing. And I think a lot of that's thanks to Dave. Yeah, he got me really interested in the Age of Apocalypse thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a box that I know a lot of fans have been looking forward to, and they were happy about it. And it is one of those boxes that the more you look at it, the more interesting it gets.
Yeah. The only thing I guess is it doesn't seem to have like a mode or anything that it brings. But for me, the other stuff that it brings is interesting enough that I'm okay with that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, there's plenty in there to play with. Good choice. All right, my number 4 is War of Kings. I wouldn't say I'm a big Inhumans fan because I haven't really don't know much about them, but I am an Inhumans fan. I've liked them from like the trading card days and stuff like that. So getting a box that's basically just a big old box of Inhumans and then plus Gladiator and Vulcan. Like Gladiator is one of the coolest looking characters from that cartoon, right?
Yeah.
And as I mentioned in the chat just now to Dave, like we can reenact that moment where Gladiator punches Juggernaut right into the horizon.
Yeah, such a classic moment. Yeah. so good.
And like me, I love my whole thing about having characters we haven't gotten yet, right? More of those and less variants makes me happy. So the fact that this is a box of 9 characters that are fresh and new to Marvel United, it's like, yes, giddy up, more.
Yeah. I think that, and that's because it's such a good value set, and we'll come to that when I talk about my next one. But like, I guess I don't really have anything negative to say about that, but like, it's pretty good. I guess the only thing is I'm not, like you said, I'm not really super invested in the Inhumans, and I guess if this was all we were getting, like these expansion boxes, I think that would stand out as like, oh, that's amazing because there's so many characters in it and anti-heroes and this and that.
Yeah.
But I guess because we're getting like another box called the promo box with like 1,000 characters in it, that one is like, oh, that's 90 is okay, but like here's 1,000, so it's kind of like a drop in the ocean comparatively sort of thing. But boy, what characters though! Like we get the crystal character, we get like you said, Gladiator, who he's anti-hero, isn't he? He's like, you can use him as so that's that's going to be great. I reckon they'll do a good villain fight with him. You get the Vulcan guy. Is he a villain or is he an anti-hero?
Yeah, he's red.
A villain. He's red. He's a villain. Dave will make a put a hero version of him. And yeah, you just like you get all the like, and then you've got like the Triton guy and all that, like, so all those guys that have the cool like they've got different tokens and that sort of stuff in them as well. It just seems like there's a lot of cool, interesting stuff in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just a nice assortment of characters.
Yeah. I've just seen something in the comments and I'm like, I need to change my list. But yeah, that was very cool. Very cool.
All right. How about your number 3?
My number 3. What do I do with this? Oh yeah, okay. We'll leave number 3 as it is. I might need to do some rapid changing as we go through. But number 3 can stay. So number 3 is World War Hulk, which I think Dave said was his least favorite.
That's right. Did,
But like World War Hulk, it's an interesting one because I don't think it gives any different mode. It gives a pretty small amount of characters in it. It's not a super amount of content in it, which is like a big, it's juxtaposed against the thing we just had, the War of Kings. It's quite a difference. But for me, it's just it's the characters that are in there. Like I'm super, and even having a look at the screenshots we've seen of them, like Ares and who's the other guy, the old ancient guy, Hercules, I think. Oh no, I think Hercules. Like even looking at their rules from what we've seen, been able to glimpse in those photos, they don't look super interesting. But I'm just really excited to have those guys. They cool characters. I don't really know much about them in Marvel, but like they're just cool, just characters in general. I like their models, especially like Ares with his like jumping with the axes and stuff. Like that. On top of, we get the Hulkbuster suit, we get Hulk, and I love Ragnarok, that movie. And I love the whole scenes with Thor and Hulk dressed up like the gladiator guy and stuff like.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot in there, but the stuff in there is kind of like, wow, these are things I'm really, and again, it's full of like, well, not full, but like there's a bunch of, we've got Hulk already and this and that, but like this stuff is just, I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this. Like I'm really looking forward to those characters, and I think Hulk is Gladiator Hulk. And Ares, I think, are both anti-heroes, aren't they?
Yes,
so
they
like,
are.
I'm looking forward to like just. There's not a lot in there, but the stuff that's in there is like strong for me. Like I'm really excited for those guys. So yeah, looking forward to painting them too. So yeah. So again, it's a weird one. I don't have a lot to say about it because it's just like there's not much there.
Yeah.
But what is there, I'm just excited for. I can't really explain. I can't really justify. Why am I more excited about that than Galactus or whatever? But like. I just am. Yeah.
So. No, I get it. It's an interesting box. Like it's the only box I can think of where you have just 3 blue characters and 3 purple characters. Like they haven't done one like that. So it stands out. You look at it and you're like, yeah, that's a different box. Like what's going on there?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's cool that Dave has said that he's making a hero for Vulcan.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's coming.
Yeah. So how about you? Are we up to your number 3?
We are, yeah. My number 3 is The Coming of Galactus.
Some crossover. Woo.
Yeah. I was in the same boat as you, man. I kept forgetting about it for a while. Like I would be like going
amazing,
through, okay,
right?
what are the boxes I'm getting? And then like I feel like I'm missing one. And then it's the giant one that's like thicker than my whole head. Yeah, this Galactus thing is just like, I mean, you said it already brilliantly. Like it's so much bang for your buck. I
Mm.
loved how Thanos and his kids were all separate and they could be together. Like there's so much replayability in there, and they're doing the same thing with the Heralds. And like to top it all off, Galactus is just like a top tier character that I think we all wanted to see happen. So it's like, and even just the little things, like I love how the box is branded as a Fantastic Four expansion. Like it excites you. It makes you feel like, are there more coming that are going to say Fantastic Four? Like, is that going to be a thing? Because we've gotten more that said X-Men. So like it really, it's just everything about the box and just what it contains just has me giddy. And like the fact that it's going to be a big chunky box, I want it.
Yeah. Oh, so good, so good. I think, and the only thing I'm terrified about is painting it, because I still haven't been brave enough to start painting the Sentinels. Like, especially like my painting style, I don't think is going to suit like big spaces like that sort of thing. But yeah,
at least they were nice enough to make him maroon already.
Yes,
so like
he doesn't necessarily need it. Yeah, yeah, that's going to be a good one, I think. So yeah, looking forward to that. I don't know, like for some reason I am hoping that he's going to be one that I'm going to want to play a few times. I can see him maybe being a more interesting fight than, say, Apocalypse. It was funny, actually. My memory of Apocalypse is that I didn't really enjoy him that much, but I went back and played him recently, just like his battle in the animated series campaign. We had him. He was the villain we ended up fighting at the end with Dave's campaign there, and I quite enjoyed that fight. Like I was like, oh, I don't remember sort of enjoying him as much, but he was quite good. So I'm hoping Galactus is going to be a similar thing where maybe if I space out the games, from time to time when I play him, like he'll be quite fun to play each time, sort of thing. And especially like you said, like because there's so many different, you can play with his herald separately and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of different ways you can sort of get use out of that box anyway, even if you're not playing him all the time, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. We just need to put the different challenges in. So you play him with like the Sentinels and Fing Fang Foom and all those guys.
Dark Carnage shows up and just starts slashing things. That'll be something Diversion Architect will do. Just the ultimate like the sadists Marvel United. So what is your number 2?
My number 2. So I think I'm going to have to actually put a sub in here, I think. I'm going to sub something in as an emergency. We had a late scratching and this one's come in. So my number 2, which I just saw pop up in the comments, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about them, is probably Maximum Carnage. And again, they're another one that I kind of sometimes forget about. And I imagine you probably don't forget about them because I've got a bit of a feeling about where they might appear on your list. But I think just the fact, and it's not so much for those characters. Wait, is Maximum Carnage the one that has like Shriek and all those guys in it? Yeah, okay. So I keep forgetting how that's all boxed together, sort of thing. But so those particular characters, I'm not really that excited for. I do like the look of that hobgoblin-y, demogoblin-y character. That looks kind of cool. That sort of thing, model-wise. But none of those characters sort of, I don't really know much about them, sort of thing. But that set that's coming out with it, just the being able to sort of come up with your own Sinister Six mode and that sort of thing, I'm pretty excited for that. Like I'm pretty excited to be able to, go, oh, I feel like Rhino and this guy today, or just, be able to randomize it. I think that'll be pretty fun. And there's like so much replayability there, sort of thing. I think that's pretty cool. The only reason I've got to admit, I had forgotten about this. And I had something else in that place. And I think one of the reasons I do forget about it is that I haven't actually got around to playing Sinister Six mode yet myself. So and I don't know if it's just because like I just am enjoying going through the individual guys or or whatever, but I haven't played that. And then I've also played Dave's Rogues Gallery mode as well. And so I kind of am already like, well, we've got this mode that's like already gives me all the characters I could possibly want, sort of thing as well. But so it's not as like, it's not this big missing thing that's that I'm eagerly awaiting, that I finally can play this this multi-villain fight. But certainly, like, I do like the idea of being able to put all those characters, like the ones that missed out on the Sinister Six treatment, so like your Scorpions and your Shockers and all those guys, like that's what I'm
Yes.
really looking forward to, is putting those guys into the fight, and especially with the Spider heroes and that sort of thing. I think will be really cool. So yeah, that's my number 2. So like, I realized that, like, so I'd sort of forgotten about it, but I thought, well, I'm already at this point. Realistically, it might actually be back maybe somewhere like 4 or something like that. But I thought, when I do remember it and I get excited about that sort of mishmash ability, I get pretty excited. So it's one that it goes up and down, sort of thing. But yeah, there was. I'll tell you about what would have been in that place later on, sort of thing. But yeah.
Okay.
What's your number 2?
Mine is also Maximum Carnage.
Oh, there you go, number 2.
Yeah,
Number
yeah,
2. Oh,
number
wow.
2.
Well, there you go, an artificial crossover. I kind of like.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's full of. When they showed us the box art for the first time and that announcement, I was just like I couldn't believe we were getting those characters in a board game. And like, it's Maximum Carnage is one of the few comic stories that I grew up familiar with, because I grew up more familiar with the cards than the comics. But Maximum Carnage was like inescapable. It was everywhere. My best friend and I would play the video game over and over because it was so hard, and we didn't beat it until like 6 years ago. Like, it took us so long to beat that game. So Maximum Carnage was kind of in my DNA for all these years. And then to top it all off, we get all these Spider-Man villains that I've been missing, and then we get this beautiful Sinister Six assembled thing, which is like, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I can't wait to recreate the Insidious Six from the cartoon and just make it like all these dream scenarios that I've had in my head. It's like, it's finally going to come to life thanks to that box. So
yeah, it's like, especially like the old cartoon shows and stuff, like with the Spider-Man stuff, like all those guys coming into it. It's like, yeah, this is going to be cool. Like, I'm looking forward to, like, with your Hydro Man, like, maybe we can somehow, once we get those shaped thingies, like, we could make him for the Rogues Gallery, right? But we could maybe even sort of get him so we could make a version of that, so you could slot Hydro Man into your Insidious Six as well. That'd be cool as well.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, what Dave said, I've missed Dave's. So he said the campaign deck was his 3rd, and Galactus is his number 2. Yeah. All good choices. Yeah. All right. So we up to. How about I just, before we go to number 1, I'll tell you about my previous number 2, what I had written down, which was the campaign decks. I been back and forth with them because I sort of I was really excited about them when they sort of first announced, and then like I'd seen some of the like when they were talking about the Executioner Song. I was really excited about that because, like, Executioner Song is like the one thing I remember when I actually was reading back in the day. I remember that crossover event, but then it doesn't seem like I don't know how closely they're able to translate it, especially some of the, going back and reading it again. I'm like, how are they going to include this, or how are they going to do that? And I think they're just going to have to be sort of creative with the story they tell with it, sort of thing. But regardless, like, ever since Dave has put that his own animated series version together in the style of that new deck of cards, and actually seeing how it works in reality, how you sort of play through it and flip the cards and that sort of thing, I'm like really excited about it again. And I also wondered, like, because I tend to just love picking some characters, and I tend to do my own, like, when I pick, I don't pick randomly. I'll pick a villain or something, and I'll pick some I'll pick a story I want to create with the character. So I'll pick heroes and villains that tend to go together. Sometimes I feel like just doing random stuff, but like I tend to just like playing that, and I sort of wondering, because that as much as I love the idea of, I think his name is Dom, who's made that awesome, big, huge campaign. You know, that big
Yeah.
branching campaign you can do, super good. But I just don't, I don't feel like going through that big of a journey of it and sort of being limited to my choices about where I go based on this and that sort of thing. So, but the investment, like being able to play Dave's one recently, where it's, I can just sort of lock myself in for a certain number of games, and I can still play through with this storyline and still have that experience. That was sort of perfect. And so, seeing how that works, I think I'm going to really enjoy this mode of these campaigns that they're bringing out. And for the time investment and the what you get out of it sort of thing, and the theme of it, I think is going to be really great. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. What sort of dropped it down from number one was that, looking at some of the stuff on the recent update, seeing how some of them kind of, I don't know if they require you, because maybe branching paths might give you different choices, but like seeing how some of them kind of require you to play Civil War mode, makes it a bit interesting for me, because I'm like, oh, well, there's a campaign that I know I'm either going to have to skip that game, or like I'm not really going to get to play that because I don't really play against anyone.
Yeah.
I kind of just play myself, sort of thing. So I'm like, how am I going to do that sort of thing? So that's interesting. So I don't know if it's that's the only thing that sort of knocks it down from being like super, super, super excited about it to just like pretty darn excited about it. So
Yeah.
yeah. But overall, just in terms of what they are, I really do like the idea of the campaigns. And I guess the other thing too, it's not like I'm lucky in that I don't have that problem, but I think a lot of people are turned off by the fact that they have to have all the content to access some of the campaigns. So
Yeah, I can feel that. It looks like
yeah.
at least two of the campaigns use the Apocalypse box a lot. So I'm like, oh, well, there's two campaigns I'm not going to be able to, or at least I'll have to skip some things. So I get it. I feel how like it would be, but they're such a cool idea. And the fact that we only get 8 of them, it's like, I hope
I'd love to see
start
more.
rolling out.
Yeah, I'd love for that to be like the promo stuff they do, when they do the convention stuff, come out with those and stuff. That'd be cool as well. Dave saying we should play the campaign together, set up the board. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Like, do it.
Hey,
Like
yeah, that would be fun.
all the COVID days. Yeah, we used to do
Yeah.
gaming online. So I think there's ways around it, but that was just the only thing that's sort of like slight knock on it, sort of thing. But, yeah. Anyway, so that was my number 2, but I think we're waiting to hear my number 1. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So my number 1 is, you can probably guess, is 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 the team decks. So
I forgot about that.
so team decks and like campaign, I kind of back and forth with these ones a lot. And as you can tell, every one of these I keep like sort of giving the caveat at the beginning. I go back and forth on it, but I think it's just, there's so much stuff I'm really excited for all of it, right? So it's just like, which one am I most excited for at any particular time? But the team decks, I think I'm the most excited about. And again, interesting, because equipment, right, back in the day when they were announcing that, I was really excited for. But the reality of like getting to play with equipment now and that sort of stuff is that I don't tend to, I don't know, I don't tend to like love them as much as I thought I would. And the fact that you have to ditch a double wilds, and like, they're very situational and all this sort of stuff. I can see some similar things being an issue with the team decks, but I just am much more excited about the idea of the team decks. Like, I love the idea of being able to have, like, because I love, my teams like X Factor and this and that. I love being able to say, like, I'm playing X Factor, I get to have some special rules because I'm X Factor, or and knowing that I tend to base my teams or when I'm picking my characters, base them around teams, I'm already going to be doing that anyway. So if I want to, I can chuck these things in, and if no one's looking, I can chuck a double wild in anyway. Like,
Right. Yeah. There's no referee.
That's right. So like that just sounds cool, and like it, the throwing in of the problem card as well is like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, it kind of creates a bit of a story element to it, and that sort of thing. Dave saying add the overconfident villain challenge, which you haven't heard about. He's made this overconfident villain challenge thing, which kind of is gives the villains weaknesses that are thematic to what villains would do, like talking too much and all this sort of stuff, which actually makes the game easier, but is a different way to do it than like just putting your double wilds and stuff. So that's a really cool thing. So definitely check that on the wiki. I think he's put it up on. Or if you're like me, take because what he's basically trying to make this overconfident villain thing to stop me from using double wilds, but he should know I'm just going to use his overconfident villain and use my double wilds as well. So, but yeah, that's another way you could do it. You could, if you want to use your team decks and still have things be challenging but not take out the double wilds, you can put those in. But, whatever. But the beauty is there's so much modularity, right? You can do whatever you want. So this is just another layer in that. So the team deck's just a super thematic thing. Super excited for all the different ones. There's so many different ones. And like I'm making characters like Conan, made a Conan, the Marvel's version of Conan the other day. And now I'm really excited to learn that I think he's in the Savage Avengers or something like that.
Oh, cool.
And I think they're one of the ones that have a team deck. So I'm just gonna whenever I want to chuck him in, I can put him in with that team and stuff, and have him as part of that. Even though he won't officially be on the list because he doesn't exist in the real thing. Like that's the other thing. A lot of it is you don't have to stick by the exact list because you can do whatever you want at home, sort of thing. So if you're sitting there going, well, technically this character should be in that list or whatever, it's like, well, put him in there if you want, or
it's not going to break the game. That's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah, so I'm just super excited at how much the campaigns and the hero decks just give you that super dollops of theme if you want it, So yeah. So yeah, very cool. And I should say, like, if Dave's overconfident villain thing, if you haven't checked that out, if that was like an official thing that was in this campaign, that would probably be up there in terms of my things I'm excited for, because they are some funny, like if you read some of his things, like what the foibles of these villains are, like they're pretty on point. They're pretty good. So
I gotta check those out. Those sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah. How about you? What's your? Well, now I'm trying to think what your number one would be, because I thought it would be
Maximum Carnage.
Maximum Carnage, and then I was thinking when you said it was that, I was like, what would be his number one? And so my number one, I was thinking, oh, maybe he wants the hero decks, but then you said you completely forgot about them. So now I'm like, I've got that. And I know you don't like the. Well, that's a harsh thing. I was going to say, I know that the pets aren't necessarily your favorite, so I'm really curious to see what your top.
Yeah, it's not pets, unfortunately. Sorry, Cosmo the Space Dog, you're not number one.
Space Dog.
This might be cheap to pick this as my number one, but I mean, it's what I get the most excited for every time, and it's the stretch goal box.
Of course.
Just the giant box of just more goodies. Like that is what I love about these, is like every time it's just like, here's all this cool stuff, and then here's just a chunk of cardboard with even more of all that. And the fact that every season they have got bigger and bigger, like this season, the season that apparently nobody wanted because there weren't enough characters, has the most stretch. It's just like, I could not be more excited to crack that box open. I'll be there for hours, just like, look at all these cards. I'll be like Tony Montana and Scarface, but instead of dollar bills, it'll just be like cards everywhere.
Oh, look, Dave said his is number one is the Age of Apocalypse, which makes a lot of sense. But I can completely agree with you. I talk about knowing what you feel like when you said, I forgot about the hero decks. Like, I totally forgot that the promo box was a thing. I think in my mind it's not an expansion box, it's just See, I think that's the thing, right? In my mind, the promo box is the campaign,
That's
is
right.
season 3.
Yeah.
All these other things are the expansion. And I tell you, of all the things that I forget about the most, more than like Galactus, all that sort of stuff, I forget about the multiverse core set. I totally forget about that. Or like that just never enters my mind that that's even a thing.
The
And in
poor
my
core
mind,
box.
yeah, like so I would totally, if I'd remembered that the the promo box was actually an expansion, that would have to be number 1 for me too, I think. But I'll stick with my list. But yes, I can 100% agree. Like I think most of the things that I'm excited for in that core box, there's so many cool things. Like you said, it's huge. I'm looking forward to it because it will store things like my cardboard locations and all that sort of stuff. I
Oh,
need
that's
these big
right. Yeah.
boxes. That's another reason I'm really looking forward to the Galactus box. I'm hoping it's going to be big enough to put some of those bigger things in there too. So
Oh yeah, you'll have plenty of storage space after this delivers.
yeah. But yeah, that's a good pick for. I should have realized. Yeah, but it's like the coolest thing in the campaign is your number 1.
It's definitely
Yeah.
the box I'm going to open last. I'm going to savor that as much as
Mm,
possible.
mm, mm, mm.
All right, let's jump to characters.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, how do you want to go first this time, or do you want me to just keep going back and forth and me to go next?
Let's keep going back and forth.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
and we'll do the same thing you suggested. You can tell me the character that you are the least excited for as well.
Yeah. All right. That's an easy one,
Mm-hmm.
and that is Songbird. Least looking forward to Songbird.
Okay.
Because I know that my daughter is not going to want to play anyone other than Songbird. She's going to be the new Pixie. So, like, I would play this game a lot more with my kids if she chose different characters each time. But I know every time it's going to be Pixie in that team. So now it's going to be Songbird. So I'm picturing that. I can already see that being the thing. And she keeps asking me, "When's that game with Songbird coming out?" Oh, sorry, they've delayed it again. Sorry. So
Until she's like 13, and then she'll be like, "I only want to be the Punisher."
Yeah, that's right. But she refers to the game as the game with Songbird in it. So so yeah, Songbird is my number 1. Apart from that, I think she's really, really cool, and I'm really excited to get the model. But
Yeah.
just not looking forward to only ever getting to use her in my games with other people. So more reason to play online with you guys. Not
Exactly.
my poor kids. There's no, you're not allowed to play with me. Go away. Pick someone different. Yeah. What about you? What's your number?
My least favorite.
Least favorite. Yeah.
My least favorite is definitely Cyborg Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The hero that I don't think anybody asked for. Not even a variant, really. He's just from an issue or two where, like, oh no, I got hurt. I guess I'll become a cyborg. Just like every time when I would go back to the campaign page and see that there, I'd be like, that could have been, X. That could have been Y. That could have been Z. That slot could have been filled by somebody that someone actually wanted. Instead, it's Cyborg Spider-Man.
So, yeah, we could have had Genosha uniform Havoc. That would have been great. Yeah,
I would have taken that over Cyborg Spider-Man.
Well, that's a funny one because I actually I agree with everything you just said there, but I really dig in Cyborg Spider-Man because to me he's the closest to my favorite model from season 2, which is Longshot jumping over that wall, and he's another character jumping over a wall in a cool pose. However, I don't think the pose is as cool as Longshot's pose. So yeah, he doesn't quite make the cut. I wonder if they thought he was going to be in the movie, but ended up being Cyborg Spider. What? I wonder if they thought he was going to be in the movie, but it ended up being Cyborg Spider Woman.
Yeah, I think because they had that Spider Bite character. She was like the hacker in.
What movie is this?
Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay.
She's the one who sends Miles back to his.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the one you're talking about, David.
What?
And then, like,
I thought he was talking about Madam Web, and I never saw that movie, Madam Web. But I thought, oh, was there like a Cyborg Spider-Man? Okay.
Oh, the giant lady. Sorry,
lady.
the giant. She was a giant cyborg.
Same movie though. Same the
Yeah,
Across the Spider.
Across
Yeah,
the Spider.
that had so many. That was like
That was
going
a
through the
lot.
promo box. That was I can't remember them all. There were so many in
Yeah.
there. Okay, yeah. Okay, sweet. All right. Well, so top. So my top 5, my number 5.
I'm really curious what you picked.
Well, this is an interesting one because this one was this is. I was going through, and there's a whole bunch that could go on here, right? But this was when I remembered that the multiverse core set existed, because I had other stuff here in this place, and then I remembered this existed, and I was like, oh no, I'm excited for that character, and that is the I don't know what his name is, but the Doom, like the Doom sitting on the chair. I don't know if he's
Emperor Doom.
Emperor Doom or God Doom or
Yeah.
seems to have a few different names, and people seem to argue that the model is different to what the actual, like apparently the sculpt that they've used is a different one, or I don't know. Anyway, that Doom, I'm super excited for. He looks really cool on the chair. I don't know much about what his mission is, but I'm hoping it will be cool. I'm just more based on that. I've been really enjoying this, like, like in this age of the internet now, like certain celebrities just get picked up. Like this new generation of kids are like, all of a sudden we think thinking Bill Murray is cool is like this whole thing, and it's cool to think Bill Murray is cool, or like Jeff Goldblum, or like, and they'll just do all these posts about how awesome this person is, and all these personal anecdotes from people coming out of the woodwork saying, one time I was waiting in line behind Bill Murray, and he like gave me a smile and a thumbs up, and all those sort of stories. Like, there seems to be this thing with Doom as well, and all these posts of like Doom being really cool and like all these cool snappy one-liners and all this sort of stuff. So I've really been enjoying that, and I really like Doom in the other game as well. So like I was like, I'm really liking Doom, and I'm really excited to get this new version of Doom as well. So like he's my when I remembered that the multiverse existed, he's my number 5. Just very excited. I think I'll enjoy. He's kind of a combo of one of those ones I think I'm going to enjoy. The model and painting, and I think that he'll probably have some pretty cool rules as well. He's a bit out of left field. I had some other stuff in that place, but when I remembered him, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really excited about that. So I plopped him in number 5.
That's a great pick. He looks like a very complex, different villain. So,
yeah,
I'm with you on that. That looks great.
And just the fact that he's sitting down is like,
yeah.
He's not even bothered to stand up. He's just like, I'm going to deal with you guys from this chair.
He's the Emperor Palpatine of Marvel villains. In that regard, right? He's just like, I just got my chair. I don't need anything else. Great pick. What's my number 5? Okay, my number 5 is it's not cheating, I promise, because they said that you kind of have to have them go in tandem together, and that's Demo Goblin and Doppelganger.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, because they in Sinister Six Assemble, they can be separate, but if you fight them as a villain, they are a pair, because Doppelganger is just kind of like his pet. And I mean, like, I don't really have much to say on why they're my favorite, other than that it's just the idea of these two Maximum Carnage characters who, to me, always seemed like, pardon the pun, because their names both start with D, but they always seemed like D-list characters, and I was like, I never thought I'd see the day when I would have them as villains I could face in a board game. Like, it's still, I'm still blown away by it. Like, they announced it over a year ago. Like, I still can't believe it's happening.
Yeah. It's I think sort of similar for me, and these guys were like probably 6 or 7, somewhere around there, but I would have tried to cheat and put the entire Starjammers roster as an entry
nice
for similar reasons. Like, I'm not super invested in them or whatever, but like, they sort of pop up in stories that I'm familiar with. They're a cool little thing, and they're so like D-list, and they were like one of the first things announced, weren't they? It wasn't like
it was Corsair.
Corsair, wasn't he? Like one of the very first like promo ones announced. I was like, oh, this is going to be a ride.
Yes.
So that whole team I would have put as one of my, like, they're close. They're they're in the top 10 somewhere. I'm really excited for that. And I think they also they have a team effect in their cards too, which I know a lot of people aren't big fans of, but I really like the team stuff built into the decks, rather than the or maybe they don't. Maybe they have their own. Maybe they don't. Maybe they have their own Starjammer team deck though. I don't know.
I think they do have a team deck. I think
so.
I
Maybe
think
maybe I'm misremembering that they have some sort of Starjammer thing built into their cards as well.
Maybe they
Not
might
sure.
have something like the Fantastic Four, where it's like as long as there's or rather Alpha Flight, as long as there's an Alpha Flight card. Like I think they have something like that. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Dave's just said that his number 5 is Titania, and that's when you said, "Oh, I might be cheating, and these guys can be used together." I thought this is who you were talking about. I thought you were talking about Titania and Absorbing Man, which I don't know if they're in my top 10, but I like both of them, and I like their models and stuff. So they're
cool. For sure. And Dave's right. I forgot about that. It's funny. That's like she just gives up and goes home.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what is your number 4?
So my number 4 is this is one where I've got two. I'm going to go with this one, and it's Iron Patriot. And I was really excited. Like I like the idea of him. I always like the War Machine, Iron Man models and stuff like that. I really am interested. The thing I'm probably most excited about in this entire season is like what creative stuff they're doing with the villains and stuff. And one of the things I loved in the last season was like the Brotherhood fight. That's one of the reasons I sort of wanted to make like an Upstarts thing. I'm really interested in the whole multi-villain fight sort of thing. And so when they sort of had this idea that, okay, you have Iron Patriot and he's got all these like dudes, but then you can like, the actual Iron Patriot fight is this kind of like plug and play thing where you can choose who like the main villain's going to be from that list of henchmen and stuff. I'm just really interested in how that works, and I think that sounds like super fun. So it's just because I'm speaking about multi-villains, like you'll sort of understand why the other one that was in this place potentially going to take this place was the Wrecking Crew as well. Like seeing them advertised real early as like the all-in thing. I think you got it with the promo box. If you got the promo box or something, you got the Wrecking Crew or something like that. Like that, like I was like, oh wow, this is like the Brotherhood, but new and improved because you get one more. You get like a 4 instead of 3 sort of thing. That I was really excited with that, but I think the reason this one edges out the Wrecking Crew is that this one seems more interesting, like a more interesting twist on it. It's not just a multi-villain fight. It's this kind of thing where you get more replayability with it sort of thing. So the Iron Patriot, I like that. And I think he's an interesting, I don't know much about him, but he sounds like an interesting sort of character from the comics, and an interesting sort of storyline where like he sort of it's Norman Osborn, right? Like Green Goblin. And that whole thing where they sort of like, he sort of forms this band of baddies and stuff, so that are kind of goodies. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. So
that's a good pick. That's a good pick. He's a big question mark for me because I read the thing about him that they put in a campaign, and I still can't wrap my head around how he works because he's so different. Like, so I need to get him in my hands and see how he plays before I can assess whether or not I like the idea of him. Because right now I'm still just like, how does this work?
Yeah, and I think that's why he's further down the list for me, is that like, I'm not like, are they going to stick the landing on him, and is he going to be actually fun to play, and is it going to work? Each time you play with that mode, because it's almost like I see it like a mode, right, rather than him. Depending on which hero you get or which villain you get in that place of the lead one, is it going to be different enough each time to be fun? Are some of them just not going to work? I don't know. Yeah, but I'm interested. Like it's certainly intriguing. So
yeah. All right. What is my number 4? My number 4 is a simple, straightforward one. It's just Galactus, because he's a character that I think we've all wanted to see in this game, and they knew it because they put him right there in that first trailer. The shadow, at least, right? They're like, he's coming, don't worry, folks. So the fact that we finally have him in Marvel United form is just exciting. And he was in like the 5 characters I wanted most going into that season. So we got him. He's here. He's coming. We don't know when he's coming, but he's coming.
Yeah. Oh, like he could easily be in this top list. I think I put him. I think I thought, well, because I've mentioned him in the expansion thing, I'll give other people some time to shine. I think this kind of shows as well that at least my list. This is a bit of a spoiler, I guess, but how much that promo box is actually probably my #1 expansion. I'm looking forward to.
Right.
So I think they're all pretty much from there. I think
Even with Dave, he's got
yeah.
Enchantress as
Yeah.
#4.
Yeah.
Yeah, mixing and matching the henchmen again. That's another one like
Yeah.
Iron Patriot where I got to see her in action, but there's like she's so different. They really went all out with how different the villains are. But
yeah, that's #1, my favorite thing. Like that's got me so excited about this, and it's kind of what got me into the homebrew scene too. Is like just like whoa, trying to think about different ways you can play with the mechanics and make things really different. And then it was seeing Dave's like take on Abyss, and like you posted a video where you were talking about I think you were. I forget who you used as the example, but you were talking about like going along the storyline with maybe the Watcher or something, or having it as a mode or something.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, and I can't remember whether I had the idea before that, or maybe that was the thing that germinated the idea. But like that's what sort of got me thinking about Cameron Hodge and doing the whole like retracing, like undoing the storyline and that sort of thing. So that it's because they're really playing with what you can do with the system. Yeah, and that sort of leads into my next couple characters too. Because are we ready for what are we up to? My
number
three.
3.
And that's going to be Daken. I think that's how you pronounce him, Daken. Wolverine's son. And again, he's one of these ones where, like, from the write-up of what he seems like he's going to be, like, he's interesting because I think he's an anti-hero.
Yes.
And that's another great thing about this season is there's so many anti-heroes too. They've really stepped that up as well. But the idea of him like competing with you as a hero, as a bit like there's some sort of thing going on there where he's and I was really intrigued by this guy and another character, like with what they're playing with there, and is that going to be fun? I hope that's going to be good, but I'm really excited for it. And then seeing what they did with Superior Spider-Man in the what's that box called, the Armageddon box or Spider-Geddon box, seeing that they did something similar with that, where they had this villain that is trying to act like a hero and racing you, collecting things and that sort of thing, and seeing how enjoyable that fight was and how much I really enjoyed that, I'm like, yes, they can do it. So I'm really hopeful for these next few heroes and Daken included, that's going to really be like a fun fight, not just a cool idea and a cool gimmick, but actually like make for a really good fight sort of thing. And they certainly pulled it off with Superior Spider-Man, so I'm hopeful they can do it with him. And like I don't know much about him. He looks kind of cool. I'm also I like that they listened to, apparently the fans, there was something about him they didn't like, and I think they changed his model, like they put spikes in a different spot or something.
Yeah, he had elbow spikes and white skin, and they changed that around because he was only like that for like one issue or something.
Yeah, so that was cool. They were listening to the fans and stuff as well there. There's probably a few fans that were like, no, we liked it the other way. So
yeah.
Well, but yeah, I just really excited for what it sounds like with his fight sort of thing. So yeah, he's my number 3.
That is a good pick. Yeah, the anti-heroes, like again, so different. There's so much different stuff. My number 3 is also an anti-hero.
Oh, yep, okay.
And I kind of wish he wasn't an anti-hero for reasons that'll be very obvious when I say his name, and that's Red Hulk.
Oh yes, yeah.
He was someone that I really wanted to see this season. We were hurting for Hulk villains. We had none. Now they really stepped it up. He was the one I wanted to see the most, and we got him. And I love the idea of just having a Red Hulk face off against the Green Hulk, and hopefully the movies are going in that direction too.
Yeah.
So he's the one figurine that would make me consider painting, because I'm like,
oh yeah,
gotta do something about that purple.
Purple, yeah. Yeah. He's up there with like he'd be in. I don't know if he'd be top 10, but he's certainly like he was when I was thinking through character and I was did my first pass of this. I sort of went to the website and sort of just scrolled down and was like who stands out, who's coming to mind. And as I went past him, I'm like, oh yeah, he's one I'm looking forward to, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
he's a good one. He's a good one and great model. And I don't know. I think there was controversy about his moustache, but I really like it. He's cool. I like him. So yeah, he's a good one. He's a good one. And yeah, with the movie and everything, hopefully he'll be good in the movie. So he'll be like excited. Like we won't be left with a bad taste in our mouth.
I hope. So, I hope they put him in the right direction and give him the mustache in the movie too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a cool choice. That's a cool choice. Yeah, the him being purple, and then Purple Man being red is weird. It is what it is. All right, my number 2. So I've mentioned that like the number 3 and number 2 were sort of similar. So again, for all pretty much the same reasons, this guy is up there because I like his model better, and I like the sound of how they've described his villain fight, where they kind of play around with the idea of a good guy and a bad guy sort of thing. I like the idea of how they're going to try and play this one out better, and that is US Agent. I think his model looks amazing. I think he's an interesting character in at least the show that I saw, the Winter Soldier and the Falcon, or the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the way they described that the villain, when he's a villain, he actually uses his hero cards. Like, I don't know how that's going to work, but that sounds super interesting to me. So, I'm really excited. I think the Daken one is like the thing with that is you go into duels or something with him, like you duel him or something because he thinks he's better than you or something. But with this guy, he's like trying to show that he's a better hero, kind of I guess similar to Superior Spider-Man. So I'm really just the idea of like how they're going to play with a villain that uses hero cards. Like I'm interested to see that. So yeah, I'm really excited for him, and he's got a great model. You smash him with his shield and all that sort of stuff. So looking forward to that.
He's a great choice. He's not in my top 5, but I'll go so far as to say that he could be the most important character in this entire campaign if they do him right. Like if that villain mode works properly, where he's using his cards for the homebrew community, like anybody's a villain now. If that works the way that we hope it works, anybody, Spider-Ham could be a villain. Like by playing his own cards, you don't have to make any homebrew master plan deck or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm so curious how they're going to pull him off.
Yeah, like I had that thought hadn't even crossed my mind, that the possibilities for the implications for the homebrew scene as well. Now I'm even more like, whoa, that's amazing. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He could really change the game, literally. Great choice. My number 2 is a purple character as well.
Okay, purple character. Okay,
and it's somebody I wanted to be purple, and I was itching, and I was like, you better be in this game, and you better be an anti-hero. You're one of the Marvel definitions of anti-hero, despite what lukewarm reception you may have gotten in the movie theaters. And that's our friend Michael Morbius, the living vampire.
Oh, yeah. It's Morbin time.
It is Morbin time. It was Morbin time until we got another delay. But the whole, like, he's just a 90s character for me through and through. When I was watching that cartoon, I was neck deep in the whole Morbius story.
Right.
So like that's just the character I needed. He's a part of Spider-Man's world that I needed. So the fact that he's in here, boom, amazing.
Have they given him a Sinister Six tile?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I hope so.
Yeah. I forgot to check.
Yeah, I keep forgetting he's part of the Spider-Verse type corner of the Marvel universe, isn't he?
Mhm.
Yeah. Lizard. Yeah, Lizard's a good
Yeah.
one for Dave. Yeah.
And again, another totally different villain. Like he's moving in the sewers instead of in the
Yeah.
locations. Like,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how, because there's a few homebrew lizards out there. I'll be interested to see how, because I know that Andreas talked about how he tries to sort of like not look at that stuff purposely, so he never sort of has to worry about like getting ideas and stuff like that. So his
just
stuff
to be
is sort
safe.
of. But I'll be interested to
Morbius
see if there are
does have a
similar
towel.
ideas. He does have a towel. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
Terrific.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So are our number ones as predictable as we think they're going to be?
Well, yeah. I think the most interesting was going to be number 2, right? Because
you know what? Let's try and guess what Dave's is.
Dave's okay. 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 Now hold on. Dave hasn't said his number 2 yet. So.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So while he says his number 2,
yeah.
let's talk about your number 1.
All right, and then we can try and guess. So Dave, don't give you number 1 yet. Yeah. We'll try and guess. All right. So my number 1 is it has to be Havoc, right? And he kind of is the perfect bridge between the two different sides of like when I was trying to think, am I going to make a list of what I want to paint? What model do I want? Or what rules do I want? Actually, as I say that, I realize no, that's not true at all. I'm not really that interested in his rules at all, because I think we've seen most of his rules, and his rules aren't really that. He just is a guy that like does explosions or something, doesn't he? So I don't know what I'm talking about there. I think I got confused, but he totally is one that I just want to complete my collection. My collection, like, yes, there'll be, if we never get more than season 3, I'll be upset because we won't have things like Richter and a few other, Leech and Artie and things to fill in some of the old storylines that I liked and some of the teams that I liked. But the number one that I was most upset about from season 2 was that we had the whole X Factor team in there, cool X Factor 90s government agent team look. Except for the guy who's like probably the most iconic of their looks and was their leader, which was Havoc. We had Havoc for some reason. I shouldn't say for some reason, because for a lot of people, the uniform they gave us for Havoc is the classic look that everyone associates with Havoc. For me, he just looks like Black Bolt. I never was reading the comics back then when he was dressed in that garb, so that's just not Havoc to me. So it was always super like lame putting Havoc next to the rest of the team, and like it doesn't look like the team, like it just didn't stand out. But I knew that it was such a small, niggly niche thing that Havoc's not on it. Well, I shouldn't say he's not on it. I doubt he's on a lot of people's like top lists of favorite characters and things like that, except I think Derek from Kanji Studios. I think Havoc might be one of his favorites, but
okay.
But I was just feeling super like we're never going to get this. And I remember like when I heard that season 3 was coming out, I had that sort of like, forlorn hope at the back of my mind, what if, wouldn't that be great? But, the more I thought about it, like, this is never going to happen, like, as if they're going to put this character in place of that and in place of anyone else, right? So many more characters. And I know a lot of people view Havoc in his jacket like Cyborg Spider-Man. He could have been Mephisto, or he could have been this or that. But for me, he now means I can paint. Well, I have painted the rest of the team. I can have him up on the shelf with the team, and that team is going to look complete. I'm going to have Havoc leading his team in the right costume, looking cool. That team is going to look complete on my shelf. I'm super happy for that. And so really, he's the one I'm most excited about, because he's the one that I was like, yes, like I got the thing that I wanted from that season.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And you had me buying into your skepticism, because I was, I'm hearing you talk about him throughout the campaign and how you're like, oh, they're never going to do it. It's just a jacket, whatever. And so I bought into that same skepticism, so that when they announced him, I was like, oh,
Yeah, that's right. Because if you take a step back and you're like, in most other people's probably experiences of the comics and stuff like that. I shouldn't say who knows how many people really love him and stuff, but like it just seems like such a like why would you go back and revisit him just to put that jacket on him sort of thing? Like
Right.
it so many other things that we were missing, gaps and things like that. And to be honest, we got a lot of those gaps. We got like Aurora to team up with North Star and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
All that sort of stuff. But yeah, it didn't seem like a priority. It seemed like there were so many more other things. And but when we got Starjammer, I was like, there's hope.
Anything's on the table once the Starjammer's there.
Yeah. So
yeah, and to the shock of absolutely no one, number one for me is
Halloween time, right?
Halloween time, right? Like
Yeah.
the idea just of him again, like I can't believe I'm living in a world where I get to have the Hobgoblin in a board game. He was my number two guy on that show after Kingpin. It was like those two. I wanted every toy of them I could get my hands on as a kid. I loved anytime they showed up in the show. I always was in the minority. I always liked Hobgoblin better than Green Goblin. I thought he was just cooler and more fun. And now I'm gonna get to fight him. And like again, I try. I read the updates when they send like we had got a new character and here's what he does. I read those, but I try not to like focus on what each villain does too much, so I can be a little surprised when I open the box. So I can't remember what Hobgoblin's going to do, but I remember from the sound of it, the designer said he's going to be a tough fight. He's going to be like maybe not Green Goblin level tough, but he's going to be up there. So I think that's kind of cool that he's going to end up being like that.
Yeah, maybe anyone on a hoverboard is going to be tough.
Yeah, anybody who can hover is just like, whoa. So we got to figure out who we think Dave is going to pick.
And we saw he said his number 2 was Wrecking Crew. He loves multi-villain fights.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So I'm trying to think, like, do I go a thing that I think like you were talking about, like opens up possibilities for homebrew, or something like that's a character that he really likes? And then is it just going to be someone from a set that he's already like, he's listed his favorite expansions? Is he going to talk about like a favorite character, say from Age of Apocalypse or something like that? Man, I don't know. All right, I'm going to say it's tough. It's tough. Like what?
It is.
I'm going to say I'm going to go the route of like what could open up possibilities for homebrew.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say, oh no, but wait, I don't think there's actually a character that's tied, or is there? Okay, what I was thinking was the Dark Avengers fight, right? But was that just listed as that wasn't actually tied to any character? That was just listed as a mode, wasn't it? And it took a bunch of the characters that they've already. So okay, so that's not actually a character. Okay, so that one doesn't count. All right. Oh man.
I'm also of two minds, but I think based on what he's been picking,
yeah,
I'm gonna lean towards one. I will say because it encompasses the multi-fight, it encompasses the homebrew, it's a villain. I'm gonna say Galactus. Strictly for the Herald mode.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Because there's a lot to play with there. It seems like it's up your alley, Dave. I could be wrong, but my other brain was going towards that Age of Apocalypse box, but
that's where my brain goes to that. Like my brain goes like
Dark Beast or something,
like Dark Beast, or even just like Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna say the guy with the dome head. What's his name? Nemesis. Yeah. But the more I think about it, I like your answer though. All right.
Let's see. Maybe we're both wrong. Maybe it's like Cosmic Ghost Rider.
I was gonna say he's gonna say Cosmo the dog or something. All right. Yeah. Well, while Dave Dave's answering. Let's see. So kind of hilarious. This fic has nothing to do with gameplay. Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Into character.
Hmm.
While he's typing, I also want to point out I'm disappointed. I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm disappointed that Aurora isn't in the same pose as North Star, so they can do that whole holding hand thing that they do. Yeah. So it's okay. So it doesn't have anything to do with gameplay. So what could that mean? I'm trying to think. Like, what's in the promo box that we've forgotten about? Because there's like 1,000 characters in there.
Yeah, it could be. I feel like he's leaning towards a villain because every one of his characters have been villains. But it could just be a hero that he really, really wanted, right? Like it could be like
someone that fills in a team that he
like
loves.
A lot of people really wanted Morph.
Yeah.
But I feel the Galactus in my heart.
Yeah, no, stick with it. Stick with it. I'll stick with Nemesis, and we'll see what he says.
And I think one thing that we should try to plan out for the near future, especially because the wait is going to be even longer now. Oh, number one is M. She was the 24-hour stretch goal. Her appearance meant that Generation X was on the table, and these teams fell in love with it. Great.
Yeah, it was like the thing that sort of gave you like, oh yes, this is going to be a thing, sort of thing. Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's a great pick.
Yeah. I should have thought about because he was saying characters like I think Blink and these other ones, these sort of X-Men that I'm not as familiar with, but sort of like tie into that younger generation and things like that. Because I think he likes all those other ones like Husk and those guys and stuff as well. Maybe I
think so. Yeah, because I think they're all part of Gen X.
Yeah. That's cool. Cool. Yeah, there were a whole bunch of those characters that popped up that were really exciting for people. Like the first time we got like a young Avenger, and first time we got this and that. It meant like and then when we learned that the teams were a thing, and then it was like cool. They're probably going to like start filling out these teams and stuff.
Exactly.
So that's cool.
Yeah, first seeing Corsair, it's like.
Right. Yeah.
And he's right. Some are missing. Hence.
Yeah. We and if not, we'll make them ourselves.
Exactly.
We'll like Thanos, put the glove on.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into what I was going to mention. Is I think we should plan for the future a video. And Dave, you're invited. I want you to come on to this next video. And what we'll do.
Great idea.
Is each of us, all three of us, will do the 10 characters season 4 needs to have.
Oh yeah.
Our 10 characters, like our baseball draft pick of like you need to be in season 4. These 10 characters, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
I think because I all of us will have really different lists, and I would love to see where the crossovers happen, if they happen at all.
Yeah, mine will just be all different uniforms that Havoc has worn in his.
Havoc at the resort.
No, that's a good idea. Let's do it. Yeah, because we'll need to fill in this time. So
yeah, absolutely. So we'll coordinate that, and Dave will get a hold of you, and we'll work out the logistics, and we'll have that happen soon. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, look, Dave already guessed it. He said, Dan will have a costume set. Yeah, that's cool.
Well,
cool.
This has been a wonderful stream, my friend. This has been great.
Yeah,
Lots of good stuff. Anything to wrap up? Anything? Where can the people find you? What's your channel and all about? Tell them all about it.
You can find us at the MEEPLE Monkey, and I pretty much I mostly do sort of Marvel United content, whether it's gameplay or different things there. But yeah, mostly gameplay. I also try and I've been trying to sort of branch out into other games as well, just show off a different game here and there. If I think I can sort of work out how to film it and be able to sort of fit it in with a certain amount of time and that sort of thing. Sometimes I do unboxings, but I don't kickstart as much stuff now, so I don't really get much stuff coming into unbox. But yeah, mostly that sort of stuff. So also got the Maple Monkey Facebook I think it's like the Meeple Monkey community page or something on Facebook, where folks can come and just have a chat and share their pictures of their painting and that sort of stuff. From time to time, I'll drop in and showcase some of the stuff I might be painting or working on, things like that. So yeah, lately I've been working on the G.I. Joe United sort of homebrew thing. So Big Head Chibis have just started making some models for that. So I've started mucking around with that. So first character that's in the works is Snake Eyes, but we've already got heroes. Well, I'm not sure if he's going to be I'm planning on sort of making anti-hero rules for him, but Storm Shadow, got model for him.
Oh, that's perfect for anti-hero, yeah.
Yeah, and we've got Cobra Commander and the Baroness as well. So the models are coming out faster than I can produce rules for, because this time I'm trying to, with this range, is go in and use the artist Erwin Thunder and commission art. So it's just taking a little while, especially because Snake Eyes, I'm requiring a little bit more art than I would normally need different art for. So it's taking a little while to get that together, but that should come out soon. And I've got a little special mode for that called the And Now You Know mode.
Cool.
And so essentially it replaces the rescue civilians thing you can add to any villain. So where every third civilian you rescue is a like a kid essentially, and you sort of give them some advice like in the old cartoon sort of thing. So so that mission's called Now You Know, like the Now You Know mission. And then so when you rescue that third kid, you get to draw for, it's like the training deck essentially, like in the hangar thing, whatever it is, the danger room. But you get to draw from this little mini deck of cards that's called the And Knowing Is Half the Battle deck. And so you flip that over and it gives you little one-off abilities you can use when you discard. So it's stuff like, how to stop a nosebleed, or why you should always get out of the water when there's lightning and stuff. So, and it's been a lot of fun going back and watching those old snippets, because you can get the compilations on YouTube and stuff, and like watching them all and being like, why is Deep Six in that pond with those kids? Like, he just came out of nowhere. It's like, how long has he been in that pond? And like, what was he doing in there in the first place? But yeah, so that's a lot of fun. So I'm sort of putting those together while I'm waiting for the art to come together. But yeah, so that's so Snake Eyes is hopefully gonna be pretty cool and stuff. So working on that, and I've just finished doing a bunch of Dynasty Warriors, the stuff from. Well, I'm calling it the Warriors Orochi stuff, because I'm also making some Samurai Warriors characters and stuff as well. But that's been a lot of fun as well. And all that sort of stuff, all the homebrew stuff you can see. Because I probably should mention on the Meeple Monkey channel, that's the other thing we do a lot, is I try and showcase a lot of people's work in the homebrew community, Marvel United. And so, because I love supporting the Marvel United game and the community as well. So that's definitely a lot of fun. And I should say, I don't know how it could be another 6 months before this clock's over or not, but I am getting close to like 500 subscribers. So I thought maybe I'll do like a little fun, like a stream or something to celebrate that if we clock over that. And what I've done in preparation for that is I've got this. I thought we could have a competition where I've got this jar of components and bits and pieces from games. You'll see a lot of Marvel United stuff in there, but there's other stuff in there as well. And I thought we could have like a guess the amount of pieces that are in there, sort of thing. And then like I've got a big prize to give away for that, and that sort of thing as well. And I could have some other things as well. So I've got some ideas in the works for that. So if we reach that milestone, I don't know if we will, but if we get there eventually, I'm thinking of having like a little fun sort of get together with that sort of thing as well. So that could be something else to help us tide over the weight as well. So
yeah, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Great idea. So everybody go to Meeple Monkey's YouTube channel and subscribe so we can get close to 500 and get that going.
Then I can retire, with my 500 subscribers. But yeah, but it's a lot of fun. I should say that I'm not sort of like prolific. I'm not like a full-time YouTuber or anything like that. So apologies if I don't put out videos, with a rapid enough sort of pace sort of thing. But I just sort of try and make them when I can, sort of thing, and put them up. But hopefully people enjoy the stuff that goes up there. So,
yeah,
and we just finished.
It's all quality over quantity, right? It's all quality stuff. So.
It's totally quality. Yeah, just real production value off the charts. Real good. But and I should say big thanks to Dave as well. He's put together that campaign. So the most recent stuff I've been doing is showing off how that campaign works for his animated series campaign. So that was a lot of fun, and also just big shout out to all the folks in the homebrew community who make all the cool stuff for us as well. It's a lot of great stuff, and yourself included. You've joined their ranks with Hydro Man as well. So
thank you.
Yeah, lots of stuff for people to check out. So yeah,
great. All right, and you can find me here on Digital Charcuterie and on my other channel, which is just called Andrew Fantasia. I usually just talk about movies there, and it's the same deal. I don't do it often. Mostly I'm there every few weeks to every few months. I do what I can when I can, because I spend most of my time writing books. That's sort of my baby. So I've got my fantasy book series that is on Amazon right now. It's called We Were Wizards. I know it's kind of small. There it is, We Were Wizards. That's the subtitle up top. And the first book is this purple one, and the second book is this gray one. And they're both on Amazon right now. And if you don't like hardcover, they have paperback and ebook as well. And eventually I'll do an audiobook. I'm just working up. I don't think there's enough water in the world for me to get through an audiobook of that. So I got to pace myself. But it'll come one of these days, and the next books in the series are on their way. I'm plugging away at them. That's why I'm not YouTubing as much. I'm just trying to write as much as I can.
Oh, cool. So. I was going to ask, do you have plans in future to also revisit your series? It's gone out of my head. The
side scroller.
Side scroller, yeah. Are you ever going to revisit that as well?
Yes, yeah. Side scroller 2 is in the works as well.
Oh, so that's it. That's one of the ones in. Oh, excellent, excellent. Because left us on a cliffhanger there.
Oh yeah.
Good reads.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for listening to us wax poetic about Marvel United and X-Men '97 as we continue to make this very, very long wait a little bit shorter and a whole lot sweeter.
we need another update soon saying these are the dates.
Even if the dates are like December, as long as we know, as long as we can start, plotting our schedules again. But until that happens, we'll see everybody next time, and may you continue to be the masters of your own universe and find out whatever's happening next in the master plan. See you then.